Hello and welcome to Grapple Spotlight. I'm JP.
And I'm Matty. I got to have Gareth on mute.
That used to be my thing.
What's that last comment in the chat there? Off the rails before it's begun. No, off the rails when it's begun as well.
Oh, when isn't it off the rails? This show it's never been on the fucking rails in the first place.
Yeah, guys, look who's not here. I'm being nice to him in 2025. He doesn't like it, but look, he's genuinely not here, is he, to rein us in?
No, he isn't. He's ill this week. Again, he's absolutely struggling with the horrible lurgy that's completely wiped him out in the meantime as well, which has led to the delay of our Patreon show. I'll go straight into the old plugs at this point, which we were going to be doing with Sigh, which is the mixtape of Steen versus Generico, which is taking place tomorrow. So we're going to be recording that with our King of the Mountain, Simon Mulvaney. So really looking forward to that choice. But yeah, it's a Benno-less episode this week. So we're going to be sort of, I don't know, mate, we're going to be passing it to each other, aren't we? We're going to be doing little bits of hosting and
like
all
a good
sorts.
relay team, JP, isn't it? That's what it is, mate. Like a good
exactly
relay athletics team. There, we'll be going around the whole wrestling world. We've all watched various stuff. Some of us watched it. Two out of three of us have seen some things. Only one of us has seen something in particular, JP, which I'm really looking forward to your thoughts on that, mate. Like, I can't wait for that.
Why?
God bless you.
That was the thought. You'll have to guess what it is, although anyone with half a brain that follows wrestling will very much guess what it is. And the exorbitant amount of time I spent watching that piece of fucking shit as well. Like how it ever came round to that. And I'm not talking about TNA Genesis.
And Gareth, it's just good to see you, mate. I feel like I've had withdrawal symptoms from you, mate. Just goes on to know you're still here, mate. You okay?
Well, when you don't turn up for these Tokyo Joshi Pro podcasts, mate, you don't get to see me.
It's all good. But JP, you did say there you wanted. Well, we made the decision, didn't we? Because it's the most. And can you believe we're saying this? It's the most newsworthy, probably promotion at the minute out there. Tying in, of course, with the Fed. But we're going to start tonight with TNA. JP, of all things, can you believe this?
Mate, I'm excited. I'm pumped about this. And in many ways, I think of all of the kind of news and other things that are going on, WWE is going to end up taking over for a fair bit. We've got the Australia show for AEW. We've just spent a load of time talking about sort of New Japan. So this is really TNA's time to shine. I know we mentioned a bit of it on the weekend show, but this feels like the common ground that me and you meet, don't we? This is where we get into like this is the company that we're like, nah, this is our company. We love a bit of this.
But you know what it is, and I don't know if Gareth as well. Obviously, add to this. It's like we all wanted to do well, TNA, and like it's this company that's been here for like nearly quarter of a century now. Like, we've got to give them some credit, JP. It survived. Let's be first and foremost here. But I think we all want it we always say the same things. When it's doing well, we all get behind it, but then they just do something, don't they? That like just takes you right out of it. But this is another one of these cycles where I'm up for it, JP. I'm up for watching the shows. I've heard a bit of buzz that like the arenas are full and stuff like that. And when I watched this pay-per-view, that's one of the first things I noticed. The production was great, and it was a full arena. And I'm fair play to them. God bless them.
I think for long-term, like TNA fans like us, we've just been used to it being on its fucking arse for such a long period of time. Like there's an era which I'm kind of weirdly fond for because I quite like. I thought this is where Drew. This is a dangerous conversation with Gareth in the room. Where Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre started to really kind of find themselves a bit.
It is so.
It was happening in front of like what felt like just the front row.
Yeah.
And unless it was people basically like cosplaying as tarpaulin, it was just fucking darkness all around. So you watch this, which is well lit, and I don't think there's any official numbers of how many people are out there, but looking like somewhere in the region of about what, like 2,500 to 3,000. Like it's quite incredible that they've reached this point in terms of their sales.
And just before Gareth, sorry mate, just before you go into it there on your thoughts, it's just like that's the thing, JP. This is the first event that I've literally sat down and watched for a couple of months. I've been noticing on like the Discord and on Twitter and stuff, X, that like there has been this kind of thing, and I'm like not choosing to ignore or not believing it until I see it myself. But it's like, okay, and it's mainly because, to be fair, Joe Henry's on top, and I'm not slating him, he's over and stuff like that, but he's just never been one of the wrestlers I've ever been interested in. But at the same time, you can't deny it if he's over, and I use one of Benno's terms, that fan base is behind him. Fair play, you know what I mean? Fair play. Just go with it. And that's, I think, what happened with Bound for Glory, wasn't it, JP? Like, you should have put the belt on him then. But once again, like I always say, maybe not the first time someone's meant to beat someone for the titles where you should do it. You can always let that heat build, brother, and we carry on. So fair play. But Gareth, you know, have you been like from afar yourself, like noticing this little TNA resurgence?
Yeah, it's a funny one actually, because like, I don't know, on paper it almost feels to me like it's just taken a little back step to where it was maybe like a year, 2 years ago or something, when you know, there was matches on there that you're getting excited about, or you know, there was like 2 or 3 matches on the card that you're thinking, you know, we said it here a million times, haven't we? Like the pay-per-view, there's always going to be stuff on there that delivers, and then probably it's kind of like morphed more towards, you know, your Joe Hendrys of this world, obviously, like Nick Nemeth been in there and things. So there has been that like sort of shift towards a little bit more sports entertainment, which, you know, probably isn't going to fit my cup of tea. But even still, like you look at this, I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I'm looking at it and just thinking like Mike Santana against Josh Alexander. That's immediately jumping out to me as like a match that I want to watch, that kind of thing, for all, you know, obviously the negativity obviously around like Tessa Blanchard. You just know, you see Tessa Blanchard and Jordan Grace names together, you know, well, that's going to be a good match kind of thing if you can sort of view it in isolation as well. And that's probably been like the case for years and years, isn't it? No matter how high it gets, no matter how low it gets, there's always 2 or 3 things sort of on the card, and sometimes it's story based, like the LAX thing that we talked about obviously previously. Sometimes it's a specific wrestler just catches heat a bit and they have a little run in TNA, like you said there, JP, the resurgence of some people. Bobby Lashley was somebody who I was never a fan, never saw anything in until that TNA run, and that was where you suddenly thought, oh yeah, he has got something about it. You know, he's kind of like found his own skin as being that big hard bastard sort of thing, and you know, delivering on it a bit more. So again, so you know, it's always got its place. It's never somewhere you want to see die, and it's just always a good one as well. This the old TNA for a little scroll back through the cage match places, isn't it? For like fucking mad events where you're like, what, him and him were in there at the same time on the same card and things. It's a like proper good one, that. But yeah, I was disappointed I didn't get to squeak a couple of matches in for this show, because it did perk my interest.
Oh, good. JP, and I suppose if we're going through some of the highlights of the show, we've got to mention where we've mentioned them already. Joe Henry finally winning the big one, JP. I mean, you know, it had to be done, didn't it? It had to be done. Like,
it had to be. I mean, my argument would have been that it's, and I suppose there's a couple of other, like, kind of the bigger point about how we feel about this relationship with WWE and various other things that play into it, which he feels like he's the perfect figurehead for that. That's really the role he fits. He's very sports entertainment. He's never going to hit the top of the card on the main roster in WWE. But for them, if WWE were going to select a world champion for TNA to go with, it would be Joe Hendry. And I was just amazed they didn't do it at Bound for Glory, but they appear, dare I say it, to have slightly gotten away with this, because I thought that was a terrible decision when they didn't have put the belt on him with the match at Bound for Glory. And then they've saved it. They've still drawn a big house. They have the WWE deal, and they put the title on him. He is like kind of what they're going for, because I feel like a lot of their product is going to be geared towards, is it going to work? He says as the fire alarm is going off, which I'm just going to ignore. I'm assuming that's not me, and it's not the house burning down. I'm going to ride the wave through it. It's stopped now. I'm assuming it's all fine. What could possibly go wrong in that? 4 children, right? And me in a small room in here. Yeah, it's. I think them going with Hendry it was the only common sense decision, that they were going to have to do, because if there is going to be people appearing on WWE TV, and let's face it, as Chris says here in the chat, just in time for his appearance in the Rumble.
Makes sense, though. Your world champion's going to be in the Royal Rumble. That's ideal. Absolutely
How many
ideal.
eyes are going to be on that Rumble this year, with it being on Netflix? Given everything else that's gone on, this is the year where you need to go with someone like that. And if he's only there, and I don't know when his contract's up, I want to say it's later on in the year, sort of towards the end of the summer, you can get a good run out of him. You can get a decent run out of him for someone who you didn't have to pay a fortune in order to have, and he's going to go. So it's like, it kind of makes sense. I don't know. For me, he's very much like kind of, I don't know what I'd imagine like Brian Mbuemo to be. It's like, you know, you're going to put him at a bigger club, you might be slightly wary about it, but he's going to do a job for your club. And he's done a job here, even if the match itself was kind of just, it was there. It was a Nick Nemeth match, which are, you know, and a Joe Hendry match, which are, I mean, bang average would be probably the negative way, perhaps, of looking at it. But if you take it, if you think of it like WWE, did they react to his entrance? Yes. Did they react to a couple of the big moments? Yes. Did they massively react to him winning the title? Yeah. And in many ways, that's the thing that's what they want as their takeaway. This was never a match that was going to be like troubling the star ratings, but it did the job that it had to do. And I didn't utterly loathe it like I did some other matches that I'll talk about later on another show. This was, I thought it's the common sense decision. They've done it. I'd fuck off Nick Nemeth now. I don't see what purpose that bloke remotely serves. But weirdly, he's probably going to become to known that he was the champion in a time when TNA was having a revival. And I don't think you can pin any of that revival on him whatsoever. It's got nothing to do with him. It's a fluke.
But you're right, JB. Echo what you say there. It is the right decision at the right time, and Nemeth as well. Like, maybe been a bit more higher on him. I think Benno, don't want to speak for him, but what he said, like, he hasn't like went the other way though since he's left WWE, hasn't he? He's kind of stayed like the same for me. He hasn't went and done like, I think this run he has had in TNA. And people will always have that Dolph Ziggler stigma attached to him, of course they will, but I think he's actually done some decent work when I have checked it out as well, JP. So, as you say, though, it's another tie-in to, like, you know, I speak for the Hardys as well with this WWE and TNA deal. It's just an easy, like, crossover. He could bring Dolph Ziggler back, couldn't he, for a couple of opinions. The Hardys can go in the Hall of Fame. It just makes sense from that point of view that they can tie a few of these roster members up as well.
The thing with Nemeth, though, for me there is, like, I'm not saying this painting myself as been like a big fan of what he's done or anything necessarily. So you look at someone like a Cardona who's at least tried to sort of do something different, you know, test his arm in different areas, try and like be something else, and, you know, almost like evolve the character in a few different ways. Like I just see Nick Nemeth and I'm just like, yeah. Same old Nick Nemeth, you know. Not into the most wanted Nick Nemeth, Gareth, no. He certainly is not. That makes main event Jey Uso sound like an accurate nickname.
Let's not go there yet, Gareth. Come on, we've got a long show to deal with. But as you say, JP, that was the fans were into it as well, which ultimately is what you know what wrestling's meant to be, JP. But that you know, done its purpose in the main event. But like, I don't know where you want to go to next. Do you want to go to the match Gareth reference between Josh Alexander and Mike Santana, because that's newsworthy as well, because it was an I Quit match, JP, and Mike Santana got the win, making Josh Alexander say I quit. But not only saying I quit in the match, Josh Alexander got on the mic after it and said that he quit TNA as well. So will we see him turn up in NXT soon?
It feels like it's the natural landing point for him. It's a really interesting situation with Josh Alexander, because I don't know what you made of the match as well. For me, I thought it was fine. It was good. It wasn't great. It certainly wasn't match of the night. There was another match that kind of really was head and shoulders, stood out. But the thing about that match was it was a little bit too long for me. But he's off. His wife has left and she wasn't even ring announcer for this. It wasn't in like Jade Chung got sort of farewells. I thought she always did kind of fine.
Mackenzie Mitchell, weren't it, for this
Mackenzie
show,
Mitchell for this one, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really kind of, he has some good options about where to go next, and that's really where to kind of take it with Josh Alexander. I've often thought for a while NXT with the potential of a coaching role is kind of perfect if you're wanting to have like genuinely good workers in there with your younger guys. Alexander's a great fit to put into the mix. If he goes to AEW, this is like it's a futile argument. Water is wet, sky is blue. He'd be lost in the shuffle. It's just an obvious thing to say happening. So NXT feels like it's a good role. It gives him a chance to wind down. I think as part of, and I know you're big on Saint and Sinner, Gareth, but like from what I've seen of Northern Armory, they've built them in the very short period of time there as a decent little unit. Like with it's Judas Icarus and is it? Oh, I can't think of the other bloke name. I want to,
I can't believe I forgot his bloody name live on it.
Oh, it's all right.
Fucking typical.
Don't need to worry about it. We're going to be getting onto a show where you're not going to know who fucking any of the fucking people. I didn't know they fucking were. Like, we've been doing this shit for years. But, like, like, for him, that seems like the sensible option. I think the ship has sailed on him going to, like, New Japan. As nice an idea of him doing a G1 is. At the age and given the injuries he's had and other things like that, you really would recommend, if you're going to recommend him to do anything, it's just like, well, you kind of cash in. This is the common sense thing for him to do. I just don't know if he wants to still be based in Canada, because obviously he's Canadian, his wife's Canadian. I assume that they live in Toronto. It may is the idea of moving to Florida, is that kind of like an option for him? But that's on a personal level, and I don't know about it. It's none of my fucking business. Don't tell me how much of their mortgage they've got left to pay off or any shit like that. But I think for him, like, that's a good place to go. I think what's interesting with Mike Santana is you could finally see, okay, now he's got past this, and the reaction to him, and I have to say, he has fucking banging theme music. Mike Santana.
Looks the real deal, JP. He was over.
He does.
The fans love him. He looks great. And his work for me has always been like, I've always been a fan of LAX, and for me, he always stood out in the team. And what you're saying, I like this match, JP. I liked it a lot. I think it didn't. It was a bit, he went for the dramatic, emotional thing a bit too much. And I don't think it hit that height, but it was still good. It was still really good, the story they told, and it was to be like, what was it? Not the face of TNA, but like the standard in TNA. They were calling it like Alexander, without being the champion, was always the benchmark, and that's what Santana's been building up to do. And I thought they doing a good job. They did some good spots. They done the old Kurt Angle, Eddie Guerrero, where the boot come off Gareth, and like he had the bare ankle was exposed, and Alexander was hitting it with the chair, and he still wouldn't quit. They done a good job of. He had a lot of heart, Santana, and he never quit. And then you had some. He laid some real like Brock Lesnar type forearms, didn't he, into the top of his head and busted them open. Not quite the Randy Orton gusher we had, like, but it was a nice little cut on Santana's head. So that was good. And then he was laughing, when he at that, and like when the ref had the mic in the face, he kept laughing and stuff. And no sold the C4 spike, JP, which no one's ever kicked out of. He literally just got up, done an old Jim Elwig out of that, didn't he? Just got right up, just looked at him right in the face. But I didn't mind it because, as I say, they were going for that. And once again, it never reached the heights that I think they were quite going for with that. But overall, JP, he done a job. He tied his arms, didn't he, with the zip tie that Alexander had, and then went for the curb stomp on the steps, Gareth. And that's when Alexander seen the steps and just thought, don't want to take that, I quit. So yeah, it was a good match though. It was a good match.
And and this being what TNA does, and this is the thing that they do kind of best when it comes to like organization, because it arguably, and that's never been their strong suit in the past, organization and TNA. But weirdly, the idea of like, well, they're going to make a big statement on this because they're doing a live episode of Impact, I think on Thursday, which I'm really intrigued to see, because I'm intrigued to see the direction that they go in, and they're going to be addressing what's going to be happening with Josh Alexander as well, and what's going to happen there. But Santana feels to me after this, it's like he's your go-to. He might be the guy they go to post Joe Hendry. If you're talking about Joe Hendry leaving, when they do take the belt off him, Santana feels like he would be a safe choice. And he also feels like someone, as part of this relationship that they've got with WWE, that he could turn up in NXT and he's a fresh face in that world, whilst also having enough name recognition. It feels like he has. This was the first time I felt like he'd really broken the shackles of LAX / Proud and Powerful / Santana and Ortiz, that he kind of got past that. And I was just thinking of him as a singles guy from the entrance and everything else, the way that he came through. It was just like, okay, there's like a real bit of momentum, and it was helped by a crowd that was hot. No, it was a good crowd. This was a crowd that were like, I thought it were well up for it. As well, sold more tickets than what Ring of Honor did there.
Even in AEW, though, I always thought he was authentic, Santana. He always good on the mic. Remember, he had that eye for an eye match when he was part of the Inner Circle, was it, and stuff. I thought he was great then when he got a chance to talk on the mic. I think he's just he's believable. Like he's just normal talks on the mic, but he's believable, with it and the character. So I'm all for it. And that is what you say there, but that's good booking, JP. You've got to give them credit. I don't know who's actually booking. I hope it's not Tommy Dreamer, because I don't want to give him credit if it is Tommy Dreamer. But it's good booking because it is, because you've got Joe Henry, and that's what I was thinking, JP State. I thought, well, if he's the standard now, that pushes him up to #1 contender, but he's a face at the same time. I think you let him just bubble a bit, while Joe Henry won't be probably a long run, but it's the right, like we said, the right choice now to him to go in the Rumble. And then when the time's right, Santana will beat that off the heel who beats Joe Henry, and then you've got your long champion. So I think that's very good, smart booking from whoever's booking.
It is Thomas Dreamer.
Is it? God, I'll have to give him that. Sorry, though, I will give him that.
He was on the pre-show panel and stuff, which was very fucking shambolic. Partly because I don't want to see anything about busted open radio ever again. I'm fucking sick of it. I don't know what Dave LaGreca has done to suddenly work his way into all these positions, but I've zero interest in seeing him on this stuff as well, particularly when he goes to playing heel. And Mark Henry turned up for reasons, and Dreamer was there with his "Funk You" t-shirt on as well. The fucking prick.
Of course he was. But Gareth, can we ask you about Josh Alexander? He's one of yours, isn't he, Gareth? Would he be turned up in NXT? Would that even get you to watch that program, mate?
To watch NXT?
Yeah, if he turned up and Big Josh was there, though. I'm not Matt Bourne there, by the way.
I'm not watching Josh Alexander losing to some basketball player or something like that. Just because they're tall.
But would you want to see him then, Gareth, maybe in AEW, or like JP said, New Japan, or I don't know, the Indies? Do they exist anymore? Are they still a thing? It's one of them.
I think though the rules have changed, haven't they, with WWE? Like, the doors open and things, people can go straight to the main roster, can't they? And in a world where your AEW's, obviously signing up talent and things from who are available from around the world, and then Josh Alexander's like a pretty big name to go straight to like a main roster signing. So like, for me, if he was going to WWE, I'd be wanting him to be going Raw or SmackDown, really. And he's had his seasoning, he's worked TV for years, he's worked main events all right of a lower level and things, but he's TV ready. He's someone that you can put in, and he's like you say, he's a fresh face to the WWE audience as well. He doesn't need 2 years in NXT to then like come up to the main roster. Capitalize on him now while he can still go, and like while his body's in shape. But he's probably getting half the good stuff told he can't do it anymore anyway if he goes to WWE. So that's probably not going to pull me over anyway, Matt. So
your man Sean will be telling him how to do it properly, Gareth.
It also feels in NXT there's a tailor-made feud with Ethan Page.
Yeah, or tag them back up. You can do a lot with them. Yeah. Do a lot. I
know Benno had said there was a rumor that they'd fallen out, which isn't like Ethan. That's not like him at all. But the idea that you at least have got something that you can go straight into, and if you wanted to, and because of the way Ethan Page is positioned in NXT, it feels like it's a natural kind of fit. If you did put them in as a tag team, you'd want to have them dominate and then move them up to the main roster, just simply because like there is spots there. If the Motor City Machine Guns can come in and within 2 weeks become tag team champions, I'm pretty sure that Ethan Page and Josh Alexander could do much the same as well. And it would be nice to. I just think because of this deal and because of this relationship is very, very NXT heavy, that feels like it's the landing spot. And there's a double-edged purpose for him where if you just want this guy to work with younger talent, he's kind of perfect for that. Just given, like you said, Gareth, the amount of seasoning he's had.
But that's perfect, though, JP, to cover 2 matches, maybe even briefly. But that ties into where a lot of people were saying, oh, last time this got announced, like the wrestlers NXT was sending down to TNA weren't good enough. Well, I think there were bigger names that got sent down here because at the conclusion of the Masha Slamovich-Rosemary match, we had Cora Jade confronting Slamovich JP in a face-off, which that should be a great match. And then we had Faustian, the actual NXT tag team champion, sitting ringside for the TNA tag team title match. And like you said there, it's Thursday, it is JP, a live Impact.
Yeah.
Faustian v. the Rascals for the tag belt. That'll be a fucking unbelievable match. That'll be so good if you give him 20 minutes. That'll be unbelievable. So at least this time around, they're giving you bigger stars. I know it was on a pay-per-view as well, don't get me wrong, but at least they're giving you them bigger names, JP.
Exactly. And I think that to go on to the tag match kind of first for it as well, I mean, it was an interesting one because I actually thought the match they were possibly going to go to, and I think they will do, was Faustian versus the Hardys on NXT, just because there is that bit of a name. It doesn't mean anything to me, but just in a casual way on Netflix, the Hardys turn up on NXT, and it gives NXT that element of unpredictability that perhaps Raw and SmackDown isn't going to have. And that you can go to that eventually, but the idea of having Faustian, who, I mean, I put them down as my tag team of the year, that was more by default than anything to do with them necessarily being like earth-shatteringly good. But they are a good tag team, and bringing them into the mix, it felt like that was it's a good decision to go ahead and do that. We've already had the Rascals on NXT TV, so I think they're like, they feel like if people are going to get signed, when people start getting signed up, and we'll talk probably more about the overall deal between it when we get through the rest of Genesis and what the state of play is with it. But the Rascals feel like it's like part of the role is they get to audition basically.
Tailor-made, don't you think? Them two tag teams for each other. That match, honestly, Gareth, like that should be honestly really fucking good. The same with Cora Jade and Slamovich as well. These are not like I'm not putting keep putting Joe Henry down, but it's not like you're going to get good matches here with fresh, good wrestlers getting paired up in what they should be getting paired with, not with like a Joe Henry and stuff. This is perfect matchmaking for me, 100%.
And with them being on TNT, and this ain't a dig, like presumably where you talk there about getting more time and things, and probably being allowed to go out there and do a bit more. Like presumably, if
you mean Netflix or /CW or
no, I was like if they're then with that crossover, if they're then allowed to like have the matches in did I say TNT? In TNA, then like
if they do it in your backyard, mate, that's no bad thing. But, you know,
presumably they're going to get like more, a bit more time, a bit more freedom. Maybe maybe it's some of the things of the positives to come out of that working relationship is that they're working out of that kind of like everyday environment that comes with it as well. So then from a match quality point of view, there probably is a chance for it to be better maybe than if it was something that was getting, squeezed onto an NXT shirt.
Yeah. But JP, we always say it every time she turns up, mate. When the earth ends, mate, cockroaches and Rosemary will still be in TNA, mate. Good to see it on a pay-per-view in 2025, though. Got to give her credit.
Yeah, and I kind of thought, I mean, I hate the name. Clockwork Orange House of Fun. That sounds like prime Raven Mensa bullshit.
IQ Scott Levy for you,
Oh, it is. It's just like, I've watched Clockwork Orange, and it's like, right, that doesn't add to your Mensa score, mate. Just going to throw it out there. Debates, I find it a disturbing masterpiece. I can understand why Kubrick felt the way he did about not wanting it played in the UK and stuff and whatnot. I thought this was, for what it was in terms of like a hardcore match. Yeah, which I just wish they just used that title. It was fun, but it passed the time. I think Masha Slamovich is a good go-to, and when they get round to Masha Slamovich versus Tessa Blanchard, that's going to be built up as a kind of like a big match as well. But she's like, in that position now where she's so much more of a fixture. She's been good for a number of years. Masha Slamovich.
Brilliant Slamovich. She's really like one of my favourite wrestlers, JP, in general to watch. Like, honestly, every time I see her, like, she just impresses the hell out of me. And it's like, even in there with like you say, Tessa Blanchard, it's going to be like this one against Cora Jade and stuff like that. And even like your Julius, JP, or your Vickers, get us in there with all these, get these matches done while you can.
I think it's interesting with the Cora Jade one, because I think it'd be easy for us to be really snarky and go, well, who is Cora Jade? Within the world of NXT, Cora Jade kind of means something. Like, she does.
She's
like,
had some big injuries as well, JP. She's had some pretty, because she was the one pushed before Roxanne Perez. She was the one like who they were pushing.
She's not Brinley Reese or Izzy Dame, and I'm not even sure they're real fucking people, or a Sol Rooker, or any of these other people. Like, Cora Jade has been kind of established as someone in NXT for quite some time, and that bringing her in along with Faustian felt like, oh, okay, that's the level of person they're going to bring into the mix, and I think that's all right. I think if she can take losses, and I think that's the key to all of that relationship, that they managed to sort of put it out there to have these kind of like 50-50, like, in terms of wins and losses between the various companies. That's the one time I think I'll be an advocate for 50-50 booking. And if they do that, I think that's thoroughly decent. It's just not, she's not a no-name, which is what the people who've turned up from NXT in TNA have been for the most part. But like Faustian, it was like, oh, that's a pleasant surprise. Yeah. Just seeing that's the kind of people they're going to be bringing in. And, you want to think it's that extra bit of seasoning, like you said, Gareth, about the idea they're going to be working just with less of the shackles off. You're not going to have someone going hard cam, like screaming at them. It's like they'll be able to look in the opposite direction, guilt-free, without having to worry about somebody bollocking them in the back and sort of pushing them down the card as a result. But yeah, it felt like, I mean, if you're going to have Rosemary in a high level match on a TNA card, this is the match that you put her into. This is her bread and butter, and it's what she can do well, and she can always eat defeats in these matches. And it was that move she hits at the end, which is like a cradle pole driver off the second rope
through the chairs.
Yeah. That's fucking nuts. Yeah. Like, there's a lot that can go wrong there. And managed to do it. It was like, I thought fair play. I thought it was like a perfectly fun, hardcore match that I wouldn't go above like sort of 3.5 on. But also, like large swathes of this card, I didn't go through hating it.
Yeah, and same with the tag match, because when I seen Rascals v Hardy, I was like, it's the Hardys, at this stage of the game. But the Rascals, like, I think they're a great tag team. They done enough to make the Hardys, and the Hardys were on it, to be fair to them. Like, the most on it I've seen them, and didn't see all their AEW run by any stretch, but this was the most they looked on it. Yeah. But the Rascals made them look faster, look crisper, because they're so fast, they're so crisp. I thought they'd done a hell of a job, the Rascals here, and once again, the Hardys did live up to it, and it was, once again, JP, it was far from bad, this match for me.
Yeah. Far from. I mean, I'd probably go about like sort of 3.5 stars for it. But I thought, again, it was like, and this is probably the TNA product in general. It's kind of inoffensive. Now, there's been outright times in its history where the product has been downright offensive. Like, it's just been upsetting to fucking watch for all of the various things. But there is a quality and a standard of work that was on this show that you thought, okay. And I think they're more motivated. I think people are more motivated to do well because they're kind of on the up. There's a good house there. They're reacting to stuff. It means that they're enjoying it a bit more in the ring. They're able to feel it a bit more, and they're able to kind of throw themselves in. And I thought it was perfectly fine. So yeah, I'd probably go like 3.5 stars on that one as well.
And just to cover the last few matches, JP, I mean, you alluded to one match that was head and shoulders. Dare I say, was it the Jordan Grace Tessa Blanchard match?
Yeah. This is. I don't want, like, and it'd be an easy thing for people to do, but like, if you praise a Tessa Blanchard match, it's like you're advocating all of the bad things that she has obviously said and done, and her behavior in the past. That's not the case. what has always been very clear about Tessa Blanchard is it's not the wrestling that's holding her back from kind of getting a break in a big major company. Because here, I fucking loved this match.
This was amazing, JP. Like it really was.
I thought this was incredible on here. It had genuine needle. You were watching this quite closely and intensely. And I thought the way that they structured it and the way that they built it around, and it never dipped. Even when Tessa was on offense and Jordan Grace is selling, it was absolutely fine. I think Jordan Grace, just her level of improvement, it's a perfect time. And I don't want to see her.
She's unbelievable.
Yeah. I don't want to see her in NXT. I think of like when you mentioned it earlier on, Gareth, of people to go to the main roster, should be her. She should be one of them now. They may well pigeonhole her at a women's IC/women's US title level. And I don't know if that's the worst thing if she ends up getting one of those belts like reasonably quickly. I think that'd be fine. But I think she's definitely worth the punt. And she's also become like a very much a good big match wrestler. And this felt like a big match. Now, it's hard not to mention this match without the various Tessa chants going on. The "You're a racist" chant going on. It was very loud, very audible. What made it work, it was the fact that Tessa Blanchard kind of responded to it, shouting back. And it's like, it almost like G'd her on to be even kind of better. And there was a couple of spots. I think there was like a kind of Canadian destroyer spot she went for that didn't come off perfectly. But do you know what? It still kind of worked. I think the dynamic, the power of Jordan Grace, the guile of Tessa Blanchard, the stuff that she was like, clearly she's picked up in Mexico. Like
she done like a spiral plancha over the top, didn't she, JP? And moves like that.
It was incredible. Really, what Tessa Blanchard isn't good at, and this is a big component that would hold her back from going to a major company outside of her attitude and past behavior, which can't be glossed over, is her promos. Her promos aren't good. That's the kind of stuff that would be if they were going to like completely ignore anything about her on a personal basis and said, actually, that's something that she really does need to work on. Other than that, all of the key components were there, and this just felt like a big fucking fight. And I thought this was great. I thought this was absolutely great.
It was. There was some other moves, JP, like the fall away slam off the top, Jordan Grace hit, the rolling DVD off the stairs to the floor. Like, there was a lot into this, JP, as you said there. Like, it looked real, but then it had all the moves. The finish was a bit botched, where couldn't get the turnbuckle off. Them turnbuckle pads are like glued on in TNA, aren't they? They're not like where you can untie them. You got to like rip them off. So like it kind of, but it worked in a way. She hit the DDT onto the one she couldn't expose. Then when she exposed it, she called the audible to give the bulldog, and then to make up for it, Jordan Grace sold the hell out of that Magnum off the top, didn't she, to make up, because she probably thought, well, this finish has gone a bit to shit here. But yeah, overall, JP, echo what you said there, though. Like, this match was the best match of the night by far for me.
Yeah, absolutely by far. And you think of TNA cards, when TNA cards have worked, what's been the big kind of takeaways? Like in the main, we used to always say like a good women's match. More often not, it's been for the championship. The other stuff has been generally weak. This was strong. This was really strong. If I was going to say to you, Gareth, if there's a couple of matches you want to pick up, and you mentioned about Josh Alexander, Mike Santana, this one is the one that, like, you would say go to first. Have a watch of this, because it had that big fight feel to it.
Do you know what I liked as well, though? I like the opener, though, JP. I like Ace Austin v Moose. Like, honestly, Gareth, you'd appreciate the logic, though.
That's a new match, that.
Yeah, Gareth, for the X Division match, that like you might think, oh, there's no like logic, it's just moves. And Moose does fit into that at the same time, with a lot of moves going on. All about Ace Austin's back, Gareth. There was a big spot, early on, a choke slam off like the top onto the apron, but he hit the side of the apron. It was like a Darby Allin-esque bump he took, JP, Ace Austin. It was gnarly. That played into the whole match. You had the big man on top, obviously, Gareth, but Moose hits his finishes the spear, kicked out of that, and he went for the springboard. Great, what a spot! Kicked out of it. But Gareth, know what gets him at the end, mate? Ace Austin goes for like a Cody cutter, that spear to that injured back, mate, as he's coming off. Gareth, you'd appreciate the logic. Straight into the finish, though. Honestly, I've ruined it for you, but watch it and you will appreciate it. Really,
it's like an episode of Retro, this, mate.
It is. You're so rotten, Gareth. You really have over the last 12 months. But honestly, I thought for the X Division, where people can easily say it's just bang, bang, moves. This had good story, good logic, good psychology. Really big on this match, JP. I'd even go 4 stars in this. I fucking love this. I loved it.
Yeah, I really, really like this, and I think they just went off hot and heavy, just like with the throwing them into the guardrails and stuff. And this is the thing that they've worked out with Moose is, and Benno mentions this a lot, him spanning big moves like a Brock Lesnar, because he's a big guy. Just have him spamming those big moves and it works. And it becomes more of a spectacle. And I also think with Ace Austin, and this is one of the things when they had the video packages and stuff, of just selling the idea of he's by himself, because Chris Bay, and judging by the references here, I'd be surprised if we saw him again in wrestling, or it'll still be like a way away, because there was a lot of fundraiser stuff, and it was like you kind of feared, like, is his career going to be like, is it effectively over? But he was like, I thought he was cracking in this. And again, it's hard not to watch this show without thinking, how would they fit in to NXT? How would they fit within that WWE system? Ace Austin is perfect and tailor-made for NXT, for just trying to go, okay, what is his character? Is he good in ring? Is he spectacular enough? Does he have a good look? He's gotten better on his promos as well in that time. And he's young. He's a cracking all-rounder. We've been singing the praise. I think ever since you saw him, like, with his book, writing down how many T-shirts he'd sold.
JP, he was doing the swanton planches off balconies in Fusion, mate. He had ticking my book, honestly. No, but he was a proper worker, JP, literally ticking everything he'd sold. Proper worker, proper wrestler. Honestly, he should be. And I don't want to have a go because he was in the tag team, the ABC, but he's back down to the X Division. I just want to see him move on and push up to the card now and do something different with him. Now he is, unfortunately, like, back on his own as a single. So, yeah, hopefully he does get into NXT and get him on the main roster. Just push him. Yeah, I love him.
Yeah,
well, he has got that. He has got that number one wrestler quality, Matty, of inventory management. Good solid T-shirt logging there. So let's get him on the main roster.
Get him up there. But overall, JP,
he needs to go for a degree in it. He's that good in it.
Overall, though, JP, I'd say it's an overall thumbs up pay-per-view for sure, though, mate. If we're giving it,
Yeah, because even the matches we haven't mentioned, they were fine and passable for a pay-per-view. Like, whether you wanted to do your Leon Slater, Frankie Kazarian on the pre-show, or the tag match, which I thought Eric Young had gone fucking batshit in that match, and it built up Macklin again. I think possibly there was a point where they're going to be like kind of like a regular tag team, but having them beat the System, who've always been quite well protected in TNA, I thought that was kind of like a big enough deal. I even thought the women's tag, which I had no expectation of, but Spitfire defeating Ash and Heather by elegance, that was a perfectly fine sprint for what it was.
He was not shocking on the show, was he? No, he really wasn't at all.
There really wasn't. And I can tell you about a card where there was plenty of shocking stuff going on in a little bit. But no, this was like, it was absolutely fine. I think as a 3-hour show, it kind of sailed by for me. I thought this was really an easy watch. And it showed that they are a company that has built up a bit of momentum. But then that leads me to the question I want to ask you guys. I spoke a bit about it on the weekend show. I'll go you first, Gareth, on this. What do you make of the finalizing, the confirmation? It's Facebook official, NXTNA, the link between TNA and WWE.
It just feels odd to me. Like, I can't quite understand the purpose from. It's probably more from WWE's perspective. I think when they've been, obviously I talked about the ability to send people to TNA and, put them in a different environment and things. Obviously it's sort of going to give an element of like access to talent. But I don't know. For me, when I first read it, I was just sort of left feeling a bit like, well, why? Sort of, you've put all this effort into NXT, and then the way that's worked, and I think that they've got that running pretty effectively, really, in terms of having it being a standalone product and people sort of making the way up to main roster. It just feels a little bit like, well, when they've been so controlled to put everything into a system like this, like, I don't know, like, I can see the benefit to TNA. I feel like, when you talk earlier about like the spike to TNA's product, and it's no surprise it's come from the it goes, whether it's correlation or causation, it goes with the starting of the WWE relationship that they've had. I think that's something that definitely has been a shot in the arm from a TNA perspective. So it feels no brainerish for TNA. It's just sort of the other way around that confuses me a little bit. There's that petty side of me that can't help think, is this just an attempt to try and help TNA usurp AEW or something like that, and step up and get more viewers than them, which wouldn't be very non-WWE to try and go down a route like that. But surely it can't be a sole objective, can it?
How about yourself, Matty?
I had them thoughts, Gareth. Honestly, like, I've had them thoughts with the AEW. It's like they're gonna get in bed with TNA, so obviously, like, AEW can't come for none of their wrestlers. You know what I mean? We all know how much he likes to hire wrestlers, so I think he's stopping them get a roster worth there. And it is that, Gareth. He's seen them buildings, mate. He's seen them buildings getting full. Are we off Dynamite numbers, JP? We're not far off, really. I know it was a pay-per-view and all, and I'll always give TNA AEW pay-per-view numbers. They always do well pay-per-view wise. But JP, honestly, Gareth, you've hit something there, mate. The AEW is definitely in there thinking for this, 100%. I think 100%.
I think it weirdly helps AEW for not signing wrestlers, because I think there's a point where they need to make the best with what they have. And I'll be interested to know, Gareth, what you guys, your thoughts on Collision and where the state of AEW is at this point in time. I think there's a few things at work here, and I was like, I'm kind of slightly conflicted. I didn't know whether or not, and it's been a thing that I've heard said about in a few places, which is it more of a damning indictment of the Performance Center, that actually they need somewhere else they can go to that isn't NXT TV, because there's a value to NXT now. They can't just chuck any old fucker who's an ex-basketball / college football player onto NXT TV, and it turns out they shit the bed, because there's an actual kind of quality control aspect that they have to be very aware of. And I'm, because NXT now appears on the front page next to that Sweet Bobby, that bloody catfish bloke, whatever it is, and the amount of true crime stuff that I go through on Netflix, it's worked its way into that kind of algorithm, so it looks wacky as fuck. I think for WWE, it's a product with decent production values and does American TV wrestling in the way that they kind of want it to be, but they're also putting their like younger wrestlers in an unfamiliar environment. So it's like, okay, so there's like a growth aspect. It's like a good loan spell. It is. You're putting them in a championship / League One, but like something that's playing the way that you want your team to play. I think it's good for TNA short term. Long term, it'll probably end up killing them, because, and Benno would always say the line, because history would tell you this, as you know, Gareth, from reading Death of the Territories, you see where this ends up with them on here. But I think they're taking a calculated gamble, TNA, who do ultimately have more to lose, i.e. the entire company. I think they're hoping they get some decent houses. That's very much a check. They get some marketing and exposure on WWE TV. And I think having like people turn up in the Rumble is going to be as big as long as Joe Hendry's not thrown out in like less than a minute. If he gets 10 minutes in a Rumble, gets to do a couple of like high profile spots, they'll be happy with that. It's not like he's getting pinned by
Jordan Grace done well last year, didn't she? She had quite a decent showing in the Rumble, JP.
And she had a good run there. I'd almost expect Masha Slamovich to turn up in there, as well as Jordan Grace, as like possibly an official kind of signing. But it's also like, I think what they want ultimately is a TV deal and having them appear on WWE. And if a streaming service, or they just go, right, we want WWE, but we can't get them. There's no chance of getting them at this stage. Fuck it. Here's TNA. It's got some WWE links. So there'll be some element of promotion from their other programming on Netflix and CW and wherever, that they're hoping that actually this is part of, well, wrestling actually guarantees you a bit of ratings. There's an element of popularity to it. It's easy TV, and TNA will come relatively cheap for that. And I think they're just taking this risk of, okay, we get into bed with them. It could kill us, but also it could provide us like a vital kind of cash line and gets them off Access TV. It also might make them more valuable if Anthem want to sell them as well, that it adds that element of value to the product. If there's some hedge fund managers who look at this and think, yeah, wrestling has got an element of popularity with it, it's entered into the pop culture zeitgeist again because of the Netflix deal, let's go with TNA in there as well. And this is part of, I was also thinking about like the Noah deal and Omos and how well he's been presented, that effectively what's happening is we're going back to, and Smallman doing his sniffing around the UK indies and Europe and the rest of it, that we're getting back into the global domination thing. It's just slightly repackaged without setting up their own promotions. They've got these satellite promotions they can send people to. And I think they're viewing that as, and also they've got talent from there that they're also going to be able to sign. And any good talent, they're going to go, right, this is the route you can go down. So I almost expect TNA to end up with a load of WWE ID people at some stage as well. That feels like a natural landing spot for them. So all of the people that they've signed, and some of them were on the GCW show, that's, you just plug them there and say, okay, you try and find the character there. When we found that, we can bring them then to NXT. And it ticks in there. And let's not forget, and sorry, I know I've been on a bit of a rant about this one, TNA have done deals with everybody at various points. Done them with New Japan. I'm not sure what real value they got out of these. The AEW deal, I always thought, and I thought this at the time, was a massive missed opportunity. A massive missed opportunity. They could have done so much more with that outside of Kenny appearing on Impact on that first kind of angle. And I know it did good pay-per-view numbers, but they had him, I think he was wrestling Moose in Jacksonville at Daly's place. Yeah. Didn't show that on AEW TV. He was like, well, why not? And I think
that was what it was. He was the champion, wasn't he, on Dynamite? He was like the belt collector gimmick at the time, wasn't it? And he was the world champion and stuff. Yeah, it was. I forgot about that. You had the Good Brothers turning up on both shows, didn't you? I remember that flip flopping. That could be any both shows with them. I don't know how they've wangled it, but as you say, JP, they've been in bed with everybody, haven't they? TNA over the years, and I don't know. Let's hope this. It is world wrestling entertainment, though, JP. I will say that. If you say this global domination,
it's still Scorpion and the Frog. It just so happens that the Scorpion's being all right at the minute. It's just he's being okay. So maybe this Scorpion's changed. He hasn't. He's just going to wait for you to get properly fat, and then he's going to kill you.
Well, DP, what better time to what a segue right into talking a bit of world wrestling entertainment than me and you. I've spoke a lot there, JP. So we're gonna hand the reins to the obvious Monday Night Raw correspondent. You, Gareth. So as one of my most least favorite wrestlers would say, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to go through first, Gareth? And did anything stick out for you on the show as being good? Let's start there.
Does anything stand out as being good? Was there anything that I particularly enjoyed on this show? I probably would say that my favourite thing on the show was probably the Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens promo. I think once Owens came out, I think then sort of business picked up. I didn't feel like the crowd were reacting to Sami necessarily when he was in the ring. There was a bit of chatter going on in the crowd. You could see they weren't listening to him, and they were just like talking to each other, which I was a bit shocked about, especially when he's talking about going after the he's talking about going for the world championship. But once old old KO came out in his Brett jacket with the winged eagle belt. I was just like,
that was awesome.
What a look, living the dream.
Yeah, literally, isn't it?
Living the dream, coming out and doing that. But like, I loved this. It was such good logic and such good storytelling here, where Sammy's expecting him to have a go at him for teaming with Roman, but then Kevin Owens drawing it into the whole thing of, like, come on, how many times have I done the dirty on you? But we're still best mates, So that was different with the Cody situation to this. Like, I liked that, and then I liked the snide Kevin Owens kind of like leaving into the whole. No, I want you to win it. I want you to win the Rumble. Like I've got your back. Definitely, I've got your back. I want you to do it. Like, have you got my back? Kind of thing. Like, I love that. Just that character. Just playing into everything about their characters, and just leaving that seed of doubt hanging in the air of, like, oh, what's going to happen? Is what's Sammy going to do in this situation? And like, that definitely hooked me in for this match. Like, I was proper like, I'm excited to see what happens with that now. I thought it was just a real quality bit of business. This, I was thinking, if I'm enjoying this, I was thinking, Matty must be loving it.
Yeah, well, because you just know it's going to end in tears, don't you? You just know how it is, and it plays so well, Gareth, like you said, because that's the WrestleMania match. That is the WrestleMania match, and it's got me like, Cody was 95, maybe 97% winning that ladder match for me. It's gone down to at least an 85 now with that, because I'm thinking, if KO because he doesn't have to pin Cody, does he? He can just grab the belt, so you're protecting Cody. But then I'm thinking, no, if that's for the world title at WrestleMania, that'd be a great story on its own. But if Sami Zayn doesn't help Kevin Owens win the title now, that just leans into even more how much he can say, we could have had this match for the title on telly. How many times is he going to say that and use that as motivation and like fire to go for Sami Zayn? It's such a good way to doing it. Like, but there is
you can see Sammy stood at the bottom of the ladder, can't you? Just looking like what do I do? What should I do? Like, you can see it now, and like, but good.
And I hope, like, especially if I don't know if the Rumble goes on before the main event this time, and they have Cody in the main event, you could do that. And if Sammy wins, especially Gareth, if Sammy does win the Rumble by a miracle, that'd be even better going into that, wouldn't it? If he turns up and stuff, it'd be even better, like, storytelling. But yeah, it's got that bit more intrigue in that KO and Cody. It's made that percentage come down for me here, because I just thought Cody be a safe. But it's very well done, very well done.
I did manage to see this, and I thought it was great. It's probably, and this is where we're going to get back into kind of like plugs mode. I'll be doing these sporadically throughout the night, but the fact I've been watching all like the Steen versus Generico mixtape that we're recording tomorrow, that's going to be on the Patreon, Simon Mulvaney's King of the Mountain choice, I think that almost kind of helped for this. It was like, because there was a couple of times where there's this kind of like exhaustion in the eyes of just like, every time I do it, you forgive me, no, don't you? It's when he said that line, I was like, yeah. And you've done a lot of stuff to him, mate, in fairness. There's plenty of empirical evidence to back it up. But I thought this was great. This is Kevin Owens. It's just like, what a fucking promo that guy is. It's absolutely fucking incredible. As someone who has made the absolute most of his time in WWE and become, you just think of the level of star that he's become, the idea of him even being talked about, like the idea you could even mention him as being a possible like world champion before going to WrestleMania. And it doesn't sound daft. And it's completely earned as well. And his fashion choices, you mentioned, because was it the week before he had a T-shirt and it was the Canadian Dream, son of a security systems technician, that he was wearing there before to like the as the rival to Cody Rhodes, son of a plumber stuff. Like, he gets it. There's like a whole level that it works on, and he's got he is the most justified heel. And they even brought it up. He's like, "Oh, I thought you'd hate me because you hate Cody because he's teamed with Roman Reigns," and he sort of justified it in his mind as going, "Well, no, actually, like I get you doing it because it's a good business decision and other things like this." And he gets you kind of like on the card. It's like there's so many. I thought like it's fun. I don't get bored of it. And as Chris says in the chat, destined to do this forever.
They are, but it is, and that's what I mean. Because either way, it's brilliant. Like I said before, because you look when they first come into WWE, the first WrestleMania was a part of that multi-man ladder match where they went at it. Then they've obviously had a WrestleMania. They've obviously teamed up against Daniel Bryan in his return match with Shane McMahon. So they've had that moment. Then they've had the actual match they had versus each other, which, all right, was in front of a half stadium because of COVID. Then they've main evented as a tag team and won the tag belts. The next progression is having a world title match. But then once again, like I said before, it plays into Kevin Owens' character that he has a goal even more, that he wouldn't help him to win the title. So it's great either way. It's going to be good TV either way. So we can't lose as viewers. We can't.
Yeah, it shouldn't be for the world belt really at this time, should it? Because there's almost that more vitriol in Kevin Owens for it not to be for the world belt sort of thing. So like
lose his mind even more, great, and snap even more on his mate. So, but speaking of that, Gareth, another promo we can talk about. How was Phil watch this week? Did you think his promo in the stands was any good, or just a proper what was going on here?
I'll if Hulk Hogan turns up in the Rumble, and I'll throw his dusty ass over the top rope. It was a bit more natural. Phil, this I think it was just like the interview in that setting as well was kind of, it was just allowed him just to be him a little bit more sort of thing. So yeah, definitely got a bit of value out of that. It was, I mean, what was it, 2-minute promo, wasn't it, or something really sort of thing. So it was just the Hogan line that just immediately just jumped out and resonated there with me. But yeah, there's still a bit of the old Phil, the old Phil we all love there, just hanging about behind the eyes there in the background, waiting to burst out. So yeah, we'll keep living in hope for the proper one. Anything else that you jumped out on this that you particularly enjoyed, Matt?
With JP, so was you going to say something there? Sorry,
really quick point. I like what they're doing with having Kathy Kelly in the crowd doing the interviews there with that backdrop. It's just different. You don't see that very often, and I think there's something about it that kind of works, particularly because they're selling so many fucking tickets at the minute. I think I heard Post Wrestling saying they're averaging 12,000 for the year so far.
There's 15,000 plus for this one in Dallas, weren't they? Last night. So
it's a bit Mean Gene-esque, isn't it? Like on the podium, like away from the ring, or in like a new setting. But yeah, it definitely works well. Looks good.
Kathy Kelly, but Jackie Redmond's the main one, isn't she? In the crowd, I think she's been great. Like she's.
Sorry, did I get it wrong? It's Jackie Redmond.
But she has. And in a glove, I think she's been brilliant. Like she gets it. She's totally like a professional, really, really good, and seems to have a good rapport with the wrestlers. You see that as well. Like so. It adds a lot that, but other things, Gareth, like I'm going to throw it right back at you. Did they say any matches? Did any matches in? Was that the wrong thing we're going to go with here?
do you know what, mate? I got as far as the main event, and I didn't watch the main event. That's the only bit of the show I haven't watched the last 20 minutes. I was
obvious reasons, Gareth, is that Big Drew in the main event? That what it was.
Seth against Drew, like
WrestleMania rematch, mate. Come on.
They kept telling me that, and I was thinking, did they have a match at WrestleMania? I literally couldn't remember it at all. Like, but yeah. Then again, as my memory has played out this evening, maybe there's some telling signs about my memory here with a few bits along the way to tonight. But when it came to matches, I don't know. I had to wait for that bloody long to finally get to matches. Like in between everything else that was going on. Like the program started, and like literally when the bell rang for that first match, I hit pause on Netflix to see what time it was. 26 minutes into the World Wrestling Entertainment TV show, we had the bell for a wrestling match. I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Fucking hell!" Well, you've got to put half an hour's work in here till we get some actual wrestling. And a nice clunky roll-up win by Rey Mysterio for the victory in a bang average match that I waited half an hour for. So I don't know. Not much more to say about that one.
What about Penta then? I know that's obviously a newsworthy topic at the minute. How you think he's done, Gareth, so far, and how do you think he will do overall in WWE?
I mean, I remember us talking about this like 6 months ago on here, and like we were talking about when Penta goes to WWE that he's going to be a massive hit because, of course, he is, sort of thing, with the look and just having the act down pat. God, how many years has he been doing what he does? His style of work is probably sufficient to be a bit wow in a lot of instances to what's going on main roster WWE, without it being to ridiculous extremes, when it comes to moves with a Z and things like that, really. So it's probably like quite a nice fit there. And you can see it already with the merchandise. I remember us on here talking about how many Penta masks are they going to sell. We were saying that 6 months ago before he'd even signed, and like, there you go, comes to fruition. He just looks like a perfect.
The figure in it, Gareth, the action figures. How good it's going to be. No, AEW had one, but this is it's going to be
everything. All of that merchandising of the character and all that, like absolutely perfect. And he just looks like he just fits on TV and like jumps off the screen and importantly sort of fits into the WWE production values as well. Really, I just can't see anything. Like oddly enough, you like in AEW, you'd probably look at Phoenix and Penta and go, Phoenix is the one who's going to be more successful of the two within AEW, kind of, with a split of the team and things. But actually, in WWE, you can see Penta actually been the more successful of the two, based on them elements. But Penta wasn't my favourite thing in this match. My favourite thing in this match or pre-match was just the small touch of Pete Dunne losing his mind about getting called Butch, getting on the mic and saying "Week 3 on Netflix," and I don't get a look in, and then they cut him off and get an ad break. I was laughing my head off, like I was like, brilliant. That's like little shit like that is proper wrestling. That like
this is it. This is it. And you know what? And it is like, and I know the matches have got slightly better on TV. Like, I'll talk about SmackDown. I thought there was a couple of good ones on SmackDown. But what I found with this Raw in particular, more than even the last 2 weeks, with it being the third one, I found lots of little things like that on this guy. I think just the characters, even Karrion Kross, dare I say. I like his stuff that he's doing. Honestly, I'm getting roped in with Karrion Kross and his stuff that he's doing, talking every week. Even like Kofi Kingston, like, Jesus Christ, I think I've said this about Triple H. It's one of Triple H's biggest strengths as like a booker, whatever you say he is, like producer, whatever you call him, is rehabbing these wrestlers who've been around for years and years. Like, and I know this is different with New Day because they've turned heel after so long, but like, Kofi Kingston's miles ahead of Xavier Woods, though. Gareth Woods has got, but Kofi Kingston's a natural heel. He's been unbelievable since they turned. How good was he, though, mate? Seriously, like,
in the back though with JBL as well, and that like just on the mic and like everything. It was good. Like proper enjoying them too as like a heel act. It just works, and obviously coming out and fucking off the music and all that kind of thing. Like it's just perfect heel. Like easy shtick that's going to get a reaction from the crowd and just leaning into it big time. Like again, that was a positive on the show. I'll give him that. Can have three things.
What about but it ties into Saturday night's main event, which we'll talk about. But even the first segment, it writes itself really, like, and it really does. Like Jey Uso and like going for being that sports real wrestler, Gareth, and going against that like sports entertainer mascot as he calls Jey Uso. So I like that story and that dynamic. And once we get to the match, we're going for being in there. You'll hope it'll be a good one, though, Gareth, come Saturday night's main event.
Well, it won't be a good one because Jey Uso's in the ring, and we've his track record of performing on the big stage. It's definitely the minority rather than the majority when we're looking at good performances. But this didn't get me fired up for that match at all. I thought this promo was weak. Once we'd gone through 9 minutes of Jey Uso walking through the crowd,
people having a good time.
People doing one movement and saying one word for 9 minutes, 9 whole minutes. Then having to watch
Testament to the character that
having to watch Michael Cole do it as well. I was like, fucking hell. So I was like, this promo better deliver after having to sit and wait through all that. And I thought it was a bit bland. It didn't. You didn't get.
It wasn't as good as last week. It was nowhere near as good as last week
between them. I didn't sort of. I wasn't thinking like, oh yeah, I want to see them two like get in the ring and face off. Like really, I thought it was pretty dull, and probably like Gunter played a big part of that for me as well. As much as I want to kind of kick Jey Uso, like Gunter's been a lot better on the mic, hasn't he, over the last 6 months, 12 months, and I don't know, he just didn't. He wasn't carrying it in this one really the
Seemed
same.
Together last minute, Gareth. It did. Like last week was really good. Jey Uso had that emotion. Gunther played off it well. This week was just like your typical heel versus face. It was just something off. Yeah, you're right there. It wasn't, honestly, last week was so good compared to this. Like this was a bit of a letdown, but I just think Saturday night's main event though, guys, like genuinely, like, I know did everyone get burnt last time? JP, I think that was more, everyone got burnt watching last month's episode, but this for me, like, sorry, we need to mention Sheamus and Bron Breakker are backstage as well. Like that ties into Saturday night's main event. I think how they should do that, we'll start with that match at Saturday night. I think Bron Breakker should beat him, and then Sheamus should like just be dejected and honestly should just put his career on the line. That should be a WrestleMania match. IC versus career, the emotion and how good that'll be, as because this one's going to be a barn burner, don't get me wrong, Saturday, but give him more time, more stakes, even more than the IC with the career. Could be an all-timer, lad, seriously. Could be.
Yeah, I'd be all right with that. I think that's a good role all round. I think then that way you're giving Bron Breakker a few months with the title before you think about moving him on to
exactly, and he doesn't lose no
more higher profile.
Acknowledge each other after the match. JP.
It's the IC belt in 2025, so really, what difference does it make? But as well at the same time, I just think with the Saturday night's main event, I had the first time round, I had no expectations. I thought this is going to be an advertorial for Netflix, and it kind of was. This should be an advertorial for the Royal Rumble. That's the job of what this needs to be doing. You need to get Netflix because you need to be able to watch that there, be able to watch the Royal Rumble, and that's what the focus needs to be. So I never go into it expecting the earth. I go in there expecting a WWE TV product, which is what it is. Like there's swathes of it. As long as they don't change, it's got its own separate aesthetic to Raw and to SmackDown and the more retro feel to it, that's fine. Stick with all of those things. I don't know how many tickets they've sold. I haven't checked WrestleTix for it. I just assume it's over 10,000 or so.
Shocked if it's not at this point.
At this stage, I mean, but it fulfills the purpose of it. If it works to extending the idea of Gunter being champion, Jey Uso's hunt for the world title, which at some stage you can have that culminate at a SummerSlam. You can get to that point because they are going to do it. And again, you do the thing with Sheamus where you have him get so close and lose and gets dejected, and he tries to figure out a way around it. And you know, the career option seems like that's just good standard, solid booking 101.
Everyone comes out of it great, JP, though. Like, as you say, moves to Bron Breakker, it will not lose nothing by losing to Sheamus in a barn burn at WrestleMania. And Sheamus can, like, say, go for the stars now, for the main event. And Sheamus has his last good run and he completes the career that every belt, every accolade. That just writes itself. That's what should happen. It genuinely, really, really should happen. Yeah, at this point. But that should be good. That Gunther Jey Uso's intriguing to say the least. Anyway, like just from a match quality point of view, how they're going to work. How they're going to work, Gareth. You know, you're hoping Gunther, from your point of view, is going to pull something out of Jey Uso that resembling a good match. Yeah, I'll say it for you. But also we've got Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens having the contract signing with your best mate Shawn Michaels, because it's in San Antonio. Gareth being the host of that contract signing. But lads, which ties into SmackDown, this. I mean, I don't know about you, but the match of the year so far I cannot wait for is Braun fucking Strowman versus Jacob fucking Fatu. Lads, come on. This has got potential, lads, seriously. JP, come on. I hope you're in agreement here.
I am.
Oh my God.
Just for the novelty value. I know you're going to talk about him talking on SmackDown and whatnot. I mean, for shit to get, it's just the wackiness of Jacob Fatu in these situations. Having seen Jacob Fatu for years in MLW and all the various things that when he was doing his promos, smoking like a proper pack of fags, like backstage. Well, I'm assuming he's not that on the head and he's probably got a vape on the go like me. So like at this stage, like, yeah, fuck it. Why not? Like, you might as well do shit like that, because if nothing else, just the visual of them two together, it's like, yeah, fuck it.
It could go
Let's
either
see
way,
what
JP.
happens.
It could be that, like, as bowl and shoe ugly as JR would say, that you just have you're gonna have a good time watching it no matter what, aren't you? Let's be honest, you're gonna just be either laughing your head off or going, wow, this is amazing stuff. And to be fair to Strowman, like, he's obviously far from the greatest, but whenever he stepped, even the Bronson Reed stuff, JP, that was brilliant stuff earlier on. And I don't think they'll probably go down that route with Jacob, but they might do. They might just have these big stump fests, and they might have a few like they did. But even if it's just a one-off, like, I'm so pumped for this one. I cannot wait.
Tell you what, somebody's going through a ringside barricade.
You'd be amazed when you got a 50 notes.
Imagine they just go in and work a mat wrestling match.
Imagine it. That's...
do you know what?
With your heads.
Do you know what though? As well as like just been like a bit of a mental match, like it's a good opponent for Jacob Fatu at this time in his career as well, isn't it? Yeah. Because of sort of like the credibility that Braun Strowman sort of like has within the WWE universe, legacy and things like that. So you're assuming he's winning the match, kind of, and then and then like it's a name, isn't it, for him to knock off and things as well on telly, on Saturday night's main event as well, really. So just a good notch in helping build him.
Yeah. I don't know if Matty's frozen there.
But that's right, Nick, like you say, did in that universe, Gareth. I'm glad you. I'm back. No, in that universe, you've nailed it on the head. When Braun Strowman come into it, he like had to go through Kane and Big Show, who were then like gatekeepers for that role, and then he as the monster of the territory. No, but then he's become that himself, and now it's time. I know they done it with Bronson Reed, but now it's time to pass it on to the next monster figure that you're going to push and go with. And like he said in his promo, I'm hoping it's true. Like, sky's the limit, lads. Like, push him, do it, get him beating everyone, and get him up there, get him as the champ. Just get it going. Just let's go with it, 2025, and just it's a fresh face, isn't it? Like,
I'm a mate, and that's the key, fresh face. And I think that's a key, like, across the board. You can go into AEW and think that as well. Where AEW have gone like, it's fresh faces, people who you haven't seen on WWE for years. There isn't that fatigue that happens. It's like, if you're doing that, you're going to get much more reaction. Jacob Fatu has no right to have worked as well as what it has done, but it has.
But they protected him, JP, as well. At the same time, he's been in tag matches. I think he's had one or two singles. He had one v Jey Uso, was it, where he won the War Games advantage on SmackDown, which was a tape show. So they have protected him in a way. So this is his first big live singles match on Saturday night's main event. So he must be not, well, like you say, in the background he's been working. Now's the time to push, show what he can do properly, and hopefully it works well. I'm praying nothing goes bad in this one, lads. I just wanted to go smoothly, and let's get on to the next thing. But saying that, like, with just quick other SmackDown thoughts, lads, I really thought like Tiffany Stratton, like, once again, someone who's got the rocket strapped to her, against Bayley, thought that was a great main event. I thought it was just showcasing her, and Bayley, much to her run, like I've said, I've been quite negative when she was champion. Put her in a role like this where she's challenger against your new champion. What great match, that, Gareth. Honestly, check it out if you can. I know it might sound absolutely strange, but honestly, it was a really good main event. I know you're a fan of old Pam as well, so it's but you can just see how you put it in there with someone you're pushing, and Tiffany Stratton, and just made her look like $1 billion she looks. So another one.
I was made up to see her getting moved to Raw, so I could watch her in that totally fresh match against Nia Jax.
I know.
They haven't just spent half a year having matches on SmackDown, have they? Let's put them on Raw and have a match as well.
Well, I was thinking this, Gareth, like, and in all seriousness, again, like, the men's Rumble speaks for itself. You've got like the stack, like, roster in there: Cena, Roman, Seth, Punk, Sammy, Drew. You've got all these stars in there. The women's Rumble's hardly been promoted. Like, it really hasn't. Like, and I'm getting to the point. And even it's like last year, I know there's a lot of women on the roster, but it's like, I know we had the Charlotte Flair vignette. I'm sure she's going to be in, and she is favourite with the bookies. I checked that the other day. Cena's the favourite in the men's, and she's favourite in the women's. So we're going back to Charlotte, really, Gareth, coming at WrestleMania, because the title matches are here in Tiffany Stratton booked itself. Really, it's past versus future. Really, you can sell that one, but on the Raw side with Rhea Ripley, like so Ewan said in the chat, is it going to be Bayley, Pam against Rhea at Mania? Where do you go? You can't go back to Liv Morgan. Becky Lynch, does she come back? Do you push like a Jordan Grace so far like that straight away? There's a bit of a what's the word I'm saying? Not negativity, but maybe lack of ideas at the minute with the women's division. And as proven there by going to Nia Jax and Rhea Ripley as Saturday night's main event, as well as Nia Jax and Bayley on Raw here.
Yeah, I think when you've got, I mean, how long is it since Charlotte's been around? It must be a while, is it?
A year. So she missed last WrestleMania, so it's been over a year, Gareth,
yeah.
Or about a year.
So, like her coming back, like, you know, she felt very stale, didn't she? Whereas actually her coming back now after that length of time, that does feel like, that's going to freshen up, and then with some different faces there who've sort of come through who've come to through the ranks. But yeah, when you're talking about like Rhea, like, yeah, my mind was immediately like, well, yeah, can you go to Liv? And this Nia Jax thing.
Io Sky has been rumored as well.
Yeah, I guess that's a possibility, but you're not leaving yourself fucking bags of time. I had to get something that, you know, feels hot by that point. I mean, it felt like an afterthought on this show, the women's division, like 100%.
Honestly, the Rumble for me, JP, it hasn't been given nowhere near what the men's Rumble's been given promotion wise.
No, God, no. That is one of the really more surprising elements. Fuck me, it's a week on Saturday.
This is it.
So what have you got? You got SmackDown, you got Saturday night's main event, you got Raw, and then you got the following SmackDown the day before. Yeah. There really isn't a lot of time to do work with it. And I think that's often been the case with the Women's Rumble. Historically, it's been a nostalgia rumble, is what it's been, because there hasn't been the kind of depth to it. Then it sort of morphed into there was a lot of people from NXT who would come in.
NXT. Yeah.
Now it feels like there's a bit more weight towards it, where you can have a couple of nostalgia acts. You can have a Trish Stratus turn up, and that's absolutely
Michelle McCool.
Fine. Yeah, Michelle McCool.
Beat everybody up for 45 minutes,
and then jump over the top rope herself, saying I didn't want to have a WrestleMania match anyway. But yeah, just on your thoughts. I mean, like we were saying earlier on, I'm kind of split with what you do with Charlotte Flair. Just to add on to this for like,
I think she'll win the Rumble, and I think she'll win the Rumble against Strat, and I think that does right itself, JP. As I said, there it's past versus future of like who WWE want as their main figurehead women's champion. You know what I mean? So I think
I get the logic of that. There is also the logic of you can have Tiffany Stratton versus Nia Jax. I don't want that, but that's the story they've been telling. I don't want that at all. I don't even think she should be anywhere near the fucking card, Nia Jax. Yeah. But you can have Lottie Rhea 3.
Yeah,
that's
Paul's default go-to match, and they're always great. To be fair, like I heard that floated about Rhea Ripley the other day. Who does she have good matches with outside of Charlotte Flair? And that's right, they have real good chemistry. Yeah. And that's Triple H goes to that as his go-to match, but maybe not at Mania again, JP.
The other one for Tiffany Stratton would be, well, Becky Lynch should be back into the fold. So at what point do you get her into it? Now, you're going back to Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, but at Mania, there is the potential that they put over the two younger stars.
Oh,
the people who are going to be there full time.
That won't be happening.
No
fucking chance.
No. Be AJ Lee. She's going to she's going to win the Rumble and headline day one of Mania in the women's title match.
Mixed tag with Phil.
Not let Phil against Triple H and Stephanie.
Be hilarious, wouldn't it? Absolutely. And Triple H is definitely win. That'd be fucking great.
Pedigree 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, double pedigree. Oh no!
That would be funny as fuck.
You'd have to laugh. You would. But no, that's I think that's WWE. Cool. I say we've got the Rumble, JP. So next week's,
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question though, Matty? As I'm watching WWE, I'm like, what's with all these factions? Sick of these factions. We had Jey Uso coming out from the OG bloodline. We had the New Day. We had the LWO with Rey Mysterio. We had American Made. We had Final Testament, who were talking about the Wyatt Six. Then Damage Control came out. We had Pure Fusion Collective. I was like, I was like, fucking hell, like, talk about Tony Khan. I was like, Paul loves a faction as well.
He does. It's his go-to default story. You got the new bloodline on SmackDown, Gareth. We got Escobar and Angel Garza and all that. We got loads of stables everywhere.
We haven't gone to 21 stables that were in AEW at that one point in time, but we're not a million miles away.
Oh, Gareth, I love it. Absolutely love it. But yeah, it is. And I'd say we've got the Rumble the week after. So we've only got what? We've got one more spotlight and a couple of weekend shows before the Rumble day, guys. So yeah, it's fast approaching. But I think covers do it. But overall, Gareth, not the greatest show, but you had a giggle and a few positives there. You give them 3, didn't you? We'll take that over and on.
I tell you what, as a show to have on in the background while I was working. It served a purpose because there was no wrestling on it, so I could just sit and work and listen to just what was going on. I didn't need to actually watch anything, and I knew when the wrestling was on, that was like, largely purposeless anyway, sort of thing. So yeah, it was all right, bit of background noise, but it could have been worse. Could have been a soap opera or something like that. So yeah, why not fill 3 hours of your life with a bit of Raw on Netflix?
I think that's the whole thing with the Netflix deal, particularly in the UK, where we've got Raw, SmackDown, and NXT on. Because Netflix has become this like go-to shit on in the background while you're doing other stuff. It's just and because the user interface is so easy and so familiar, you just go into it. Like, I'll have it on. It's weird. I've never had so much WWE TV on my TV ever. I can't think of a time I've ever had so much of it. But like last week's NXT, yeah, had that on. Like I've had not SmackDown, but like I've had, and that's not just a slight on SmackDown. I just never got round to it. But it's incredible how it can. That is possibly going to be the purpose of it for a while for a lot of people. They're just going to have it on in the background, which is great from a viewing figure perspective for WWE, if that's what people end up doing, because it is just an easy thing to have because there's so much other stuff. And Karrion Kross, I've never heard him deliver as good a promo as that. I was fucking astonished. I don't even think he was that great, but fuck me, at least he behaved like a normal human being.
He did.
Rather than some weird gladiator cosplaying as an MMA fighter. It was just like, well, I'll take this bloke. Like, he just seems like he seems like to speak like a normal person, which I'll. And take.
Also, lads, I forgot to even mention it because I was that excited and pumped there. My favourite could have been my favourite thing on SmackDown, lads, and you might be shocked. It was Big Jim. He's back, lads. I'm telling you. Honestly, him and Mello. No, he's not
that
back.
Would be a twist.
Big Jim Uso, him and Mello. Honestly, Gareth, it was like a little mini epic, mate, until the finish. I'm telling you, they got given time. The fans were banged into it. I'm telling you, the DQ ruined it at the end. Don't get me wrong. I know we're not a fan of DQ finishes, lads, but I'm telling you, it was good to see the big man back. And Carmelo, I love his character, guy. He reminds me of like Just Joe. He's that like little shit starer going around, just called everyone to the face. He's been brilliant, seriously.
Where did that reference come from? Fucking hell.
That's what he reminds me of, though. He just goes up to these wrestlers, tells them to the face how it is, like shit staring about some people saying, and he says like the locker room won't tell you, but I'll tell you to your face. I just love it. But they had a good dynamic anyway. I have to give Big Jim props because I'm a fan. But we digress now, lads. We'll talk about another show that I did actually watch this weekend. Sans the main event because my stream cut off for that Maximum Carnage 12-man Gareth. So you're going to fill me in on this one. But I watched Collision, lads. I mean, I did say I was going to catch up with all the promotions this year, and I'm going to stick to that. But yeah, and you know what? I didn't hate it. Overall, I really didn't. There's some baffling stuff, as always, with AEW. But if we're going to start off with that opener, lads, and Gareth, is Texas Death, like, considering Chris Daniels was in there in 2025, I thought this was proper solid. Really good stuff, this one, Gareth.
Honestly, like, I was amazed by this because it does just feel like one of the matches where it was like a week ago looking at it and just been Christopher Daniels kind of like getting thrown out, and you're like, yeah, all right, fair enough. It's a win for Hangman kind of thing. You're thinking like ahead of the game. They've built in a little bit of story around it. So yeah, all right, fair dues. There's a bit of story there. A little 1 month kind of like little holder, but I had zero expectations going into this, and like I really fucking enjoyed this. So like I thought this was, I was surprised, and I was thinking, should I be surprised that like Christopher Daniels can still go in there and deliver on this stage as well as he did there? But like fucking hell, he didn't half, and it was like I was watching it and knowing that you'd watch Collision, and I was thinking, like, Matty's going to be like laughing at Daniels and all that at the start, like coming out like fallen angel gimmick and all that kind of thing and all that. And I thought, and I bet by the end he was like, oh, I love that. Like,
it's right though. It's like, I mean, Simon's literally nailed it in the chat there. It was filler, really. I know is it part of Hangman's like his redemption kind of. I don't know what the actual story was, but it is, and I liked it in the shoot side of it though, Gareth, where it was meant to be Daniels' last match. So again, him wanting to go out against someone who is like, who he respects in real life and is someone that AEW should be using more, or that's what I keep hearing anyway about Hangman Page. But it's right, isn't it, going out against someone on top, giving it your all in your last match, and he did, Gareth. It was like, me, don't want to see Daniels, never loved him even for like 20 years, even is past his peak for me. But it was right. Like, you've got to admire what he done. Like, he took some like the chair when he went into the chair there first in the corner. I mean, what's he doing? Like, it was wild. He took that flush right on. Like, great stuff. He won me over in this one for sure.
It took some bumps in this, but to Simon's point there around like the story and it pointless filler sort of thing. I mean, yeah, I mean, you could, there is that bit of it, but there was a connection there between them that, for a reason for them to have that story. But I think something that AEW have done well in the last couple of months is trying to give people wins sort of thing, and just like the people who are at a star level, even if they're beating fucking nobody's just been seen to be getting wins on TV. And I think Hangman here getting like a big aggressive win in this fashion, like, to me, I was watching. I was like, he just looks like a star here, even beating Christopher Daniels. He looks like he's got that star quality. He had that main event aura. He just looked like a fucking hard bastard at the end. Like when he came back down the ramp just to hit the Angel's wings on him at the end as well. Like, he's what a shit house kind of thing. He's he can't. He's like an old man who can't even get back up kind of thing. And you just coming to give him a bit more. Like, I just thought it like added to the Hangman. Just the overall sort of order of the character right now. Like, I definitely took a positive for it, and like, I don't mind. Like for me, I don't. Not every feud to me has got to be something that is some like long-term thing that builds to like a 3-match series or a big match.
This is the definition of a mini feud, isn't it?
Match. Yeah, it's like a mini throwaway feud on TV where the star wins and he was always going to win, and he just looks, it looks better because of it, sort of thing. So this was fine for me, and especially when it like exceeds your expectations from a match quality point of view, then
did that for me.
Fair dues. Like,
also takes another body off the roster, which will always get a thumbs up from me for AEW. Just takes one more fella out of the equation. It's like, yeah, if you can do that 45 more times, like that would be really, really fucking helpful. End of your contract. Now we're just going to make out we just killed you off. Then that'll be all right.
But you know what else, Gareth? If we go from a match there to an actual angle / segment here, I don't know why, but I was big into the Acclaimed segment. It was so different though, wasn't it? Then you see tag teams splitting up.
Even though you
kept the face and heel dynamic for sure, didn't you? It was so strange how they done it, but good. It was.
Again, that's another one. As I was watching that, I was thinking, "There's no way on earth he can not be enjoying this, knowing what he likes about wrestling." I was thinking, "There's no way." Even with the trying to hate it, you couldn't hate it, kind of thing. And both of them were brilliant in the roles that they needed to play for this particular angle to work. And because like Max Caster has been shit for so long, but like he really turned it on like this night. Like, he was so believable in just getting across that cocky arrogance, like I'm better than you, but still having that.
Coming up to him though, he's trying to like still be his mate.
That's right. He still be your best mate, still be a team, and all that.
Oh.
He played it brilliantly, and you know, I'm really high on Bowens, like generally anyway, just as a wrestler and all around package of you know what he can be. So it was funny, like, because for weeks they've just been like, the acclaimed, months the acclaimed, fucking hell. Now one promo or one in-ring segment, and now like I can't wait for them to face off now. Like I'm really like looking forward to that as them coming together. I know the match ain't going to deliver because Max Caster's in there, but yeah, just
gives it intriguing interest though, doesn't it? Though, Gareth,
making your spin on it, but changing your perceptions of what it was going to be. Fucking all in on this now. Like now,
I can't wait for it. But you know what it was as well? What made it even better? Because when he asked Bowens to make his decision between him and Billy Gunn, I was thinking he's gonna side with Billy Gunn, but then Billy Gunn's gonna turn him. I had that in my head all the time, thinking, "Oh, don't turn on, don't. It'll be shit. This, don't turn on him." And I'm glad
they're both left lying. Billy Gunn turns on them both, and Billy Gunn stands in the middle.
Yeah,
wouldn't be surprised, would you?
Then wins a handicap match. Yeah, that'll be exactly what happens.
But Caster said what you said, JP, basically, that he didn't even want to work with his own sons, or didn't he? That's what he basically said to him.
Not wrong.
Unbelievable. But no, this was honestly kind of like another one that just, as I say, because I knew I've seen like the clips that I put on online and stuff, and I've seen the promos and that, but I was thinking, oh, like you are. But once it got going, this, honestly, I was proper gripped on it, seriously. God, what's it coming to? Maybe me actually watching these promotions again and I'll be gripped.
Story, mate.
It's literally a story. Love it. What about to go back to a match though, Gareth? What did we think on here? One time, greatest wrestler in the world, Okada, against Ishii. What are we saying, mate?
Oh, and I've sort of been, I've been higher on Okada, like through the tournament. I think that it's something where he's obviously had that disassociation with Jungle Boy and the books and things, and he's been almost like standalone, last man left standing, and his working style changed a bit, and he had some matches that were better, and like so, and especially with like obviously the Omega segment and things, they were feeling like, oh, okay, there's a bit of a shift here. There's a bit of a dynamic shift with Okada, and yeah, while we're not getting, whatever 2017, 18 Okada, we're getting a different version of Okada that can still bring like a bit of quality and a bit of value to for your TV. So I was kind of, coming into it with that mindset of a bit of recent positivity. But then watch this match, and you're just like, what's going on in the world? I mean, I know this is hidden away on Collision, kind of, but it's what the fuck? Like having the match anyway of like Okada versus Ishii, like here on AEW, like now in 2025. But then like it's sort of like it crushes your soul a bit that it's bad, like you just think of like all the epics over the years, and obviously the relationship between them two, and like Ishii just looks like a shell of the man that he used to be, and obviously Okada's in there very obviously it's very different from like a working style point of view. It just feels a bit sad to just see them out there having a bang average match, and in just the middle of the card kind of thing, and it's just weird. Like
I don't know about you, mate, but like yeah, that's all. But I expected that in a way when I was watching it. But you know what I hated the most? I thought the finish, like I know you're putting into Okada's character as this heel. I thought it was so lazy. I thought it was parody-ish, you know what I mean? Of like, oh, the heel's going to win like this. It was proper parody for me. It was like, what's going on? It was just awful. Yeah, I just wasn't a fan at all. Like, just, as you say, Okada, like, are we building him and Kenny all in Texas like 5-6 months away, isn't it? Like, I don't know.
I always take that mental step back at like the end and like go like, in a situation like this, I'm always thinking like, well, who came out better here? And you look at some things, and sometimes there's stuff, and you go, oh well, at least one person came out better here. Or this did nothing for Okada, did nothing for Ishii, did nothing for the belt. Like So it was just like, what's the point, And when you've got a commodity like Okada, you shouldn't be using him in this,
it should be used way better.
8 minutes against Ishii on Collision.
But I mean, and also, Gareth, we speak about the big 6-man tag match of the night, the Undisputed Kingdom defeating Shane Taylor Promotions, and what are we? I keep saying every time I see it, like, who's bothered about the Undisputed Kingdom?
Do you know what? I don't think AEW is bothered about them anymore, because they've put them in here, haven't they? They've fucking slipped them right down the card. They've slotted them in here that you're in 6-man tag territory. You're in, mid card. Absolutely, definitely, you're in the mid card. Adam Page, like now. Well,
I think though the way they're hinting at, I know they tried to tell a layered story of, like, I forgot Garcia was the TNT champion. Granted, I'm not a regular viewer, but that's the secondary belt. That's the biggest belt after the world title, isn't it? Meant to be the TNT title. Is that right still or not? Well, it was, wasn't it?
It's the lowest, isn't it? Isn't it the mid, like the?
Oh, is it? As the international Connell took over, has it? That was the second belt they had, though, doesn't it?
It feels like the international title with Takeshita is number 2.
Okay.
But that's just by default, I think.
I thought TNT had a bit of prestige, but my point is, that's what, at the end of the segment, I know they ended up helping each other. Garcia and Daddy Magic got off the commentary and stuff, didn't he? And fronting and shaking hands with the Undisputed Kingdom. But it looks like Adam Cole and Garcia, I got out of that. That's the match they're going to go for the TNT title, because Adam Cole kind of looked at the belt, didn't he? Give it the outside eye. So, yeah, that's what's going to happen.
Mid-card.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's
and like, I think Garcia, I think they've done like a reasonable job of like rehabbing him. I think obviously, in the tournament he had the draw with Okada. He's had wins like with Beast Morto, Shelton Benjamin, win over like Mark Briscoe on TV, beat Shibata, and like so. It feels like with Garcia, from like a rehabbing point of view, he's got this belt. It feels like it's been established as a mid-card belt to me anyway. And then they're giving Garcia wins. Yeah, he's picked up the odd loss in the tournament and things, but the bulk of the time that he's out there, he's beating people. So I feel like he feels more important, or he feels like a step above as a wrestler today, more so than he did 5 months ago, 6 months ago, and things. And like I always say this: surprise, surprise. You put a wrestler out there and you let them beat people in the majority of times, and they come out, seeming like better, and they come out feeling stronger at the end of it. And lo and behold, that's where they're at with Garcia. And I think there's almost that thing for me of, yeah, we've realised, we just need to slot him in here, give him some wins, and then he can advance up the card and actually have a bit of kind of like structure in here. And I think it's one of the things that they've got right over the last few months. Garcia, I'd love to see him get a win over Adam Cole as the next step. Maybe he's probably going to end up working his way through the three of them, isn't he? On
TV, yeah.
So he's going to probably get another couple of wins there, and then a big match at the next pay-per-view, probably with Adam Cole. Which again, I don't want to see Adam Cole particularly on my TV, but for a lot of people, he's a name and he's a person.
He's out the main events
for Garcia to be in there for the title match. It's good logical booking to me, like personally.
The only issue and this might be just a theme that I think that I've noticed about AEW and AEW fans, they're very much not responding, I think, to ex-WWE talent they feel has been overexposed. And you look at Undisputed Kingdom and they very much fall into that category. And I think you can use them to elevate your younger guys who are fresh faces. And I think there's so much about wrestling at this point in time where it is just fresh faces. Speaking about Tiffany Stratton and Jacob Fatu, these are people who haven't had that exposure on the big stage. I think one of the big mistakes AEW made is they invested so much in ex-WWE talent, and it became, I think, for people who were just watching going, I've seen all these guys. I've seen them wrestle for years. I've seen them wrestle in all these other various places. And I think that's the problem that you have with like an Undisputed Kingdom. And Adam Cole feels that way for a guy who you know, this is a guy who inexplicably, in my opinion, was headlining Wembley Stadium on their fucking, what will be their biggest show ever of all time. They're never going to beat that. And look at him now. We're talking trios titles, TNT belt, which is really being used at the moment to kind of just develop one of their younger stars who in himself, Garcia, like for a world title run, we're still a few years away from that kind of level as well. And that's the nature of where he is. If you're going to get used to him, I think you do that. You wait for his contract to expire. Whether you do what Tony does, which I know leading on to the next story, and you kind of ice a load of these fucking talents as well. But you look at those lads, you just need to just, like, it's just about moving past them or just use them for your young lads to get over. They get over a bit more, and then you effectively say, yep, fine, we've got as much value out of you as we're ever going to get, and we move past them. Because I think that's the direction they need to go in.
But before
and that's where, like, I think, like, to that point, I think that's where AEW probably, like, I've definitely been enjoying the product like a hell of a lot more over the last 2 or 3 months. You know, I remember coming on and doing the review show with Benno after, I think it was after Full Gear, you know, and I was like, you know, I could hear it in my voice. I was just done, kind of thing, and I was like, why am I wasting my time like watching this? But then invariably you do, kind of, you know, you stick with it, and you still watch. Maybe it was going back actually to All Out. I remember sort of saying that to your point, JP, about freshness there, and it's just been like, they just need to just take a step back and just give us some fresh people, and I think that's one of the probably reasons I've been enjoying it more, and they've had that like a bit more success because you know, yes, we'll you know, broken record, we'll talk about the follow-up and what happens in 6 months time and whatever and things like that, but like Brody King, Kyle Fletcher, Powerhouse Hobbs, you know, they're all people that are sort of like newer and fresh. Mariah May is obviously like a fresh face on TV. I think they've done well with that to kind of, you know, put fresh people through. And I even think they've used this John Moxley storyline well to rehab some other people as well. I feel like Hangman Page, you know, coming out of that 4-way, that it was a little something that just kind of gave him a boost. I feel like Jay White had a bit more life breathed into him, like throughout that period, and sort of made him feel a bit more important and a bit more main event level when they had them elements there. Like, I feel like there's almost been this internal like recognition that that's what they need to do. Like that's what they need to do to sort of rehab their show, is to get these fresher faces out there and move on. And even at a lower level, they seem to be doing things like recognizing like a Harley Cameron or something who's going to be a lower mid carder, you know, opening act, but they're recognizing, oh, they're over with the crowd, give them some TV time, sort of thing. You know, they've got something unique. They don't have to win, but it's just about, and it's same with like the Outrunners. Like they probably pushed that too far, to be honest, for me, which is like a one-note joke. But it feels like they're trying to kind of like listen to the audience as well. When there's some people like that get a bit more of a reaction, and they're not going to hit every time. But I think in the main, when you look at Fletcher, I look at Powerhouse Hobbs coming into that main event in that 6-man there. So what happened, Matty, was he was supposed to be, 12-man tag. He was supposed to be in the match, but he was injured. So he wasn't there. So it was 6 against 5 for the whole match. And then Hobbs come in 4 minutes from the end, you know, limp down, kind of thing.
Cleared out.
Big pop, got the win. And it was just like, great, you've had him, you know, on Dynamite. He's had that world title match, which he was never going to win. But he's kicked out of a briefcase shot. He's kicked out of a paradigm shift. It's took him with, you know, passing out to the bulldog choke. So he looked great during the match and then looked great in the finish. Here on Collision, he gets the big moment sort of thing as him coming out in a match that's got, you know, a reasonable amount of stars in it, and he gets the big moment and gets the big finish there as well. So again, Hobbs is someone who more recently I feel like they put that element of, you know, get a bit of freshness behind somebody, make them feel like they're on a level where they're a bit more of a star than just a guy who's on TV. So, you know, long may that continue. I'll be on here in a month saying, Well, they fucking stopped doing that, didn't they? And threw that one out of the window. But they've managed to do it for 2 months, so let's hope they can do it for 4 because I've been enjoying it.
So I was going to mention that 12-man, obviously, Gareth, because I haven't seen a kerfuffle or an outrage like it when that match got announced for a while, Gareth. Like, I hadn't, but I was like, why? I did, obviously, because I'm not following the pro. Was it just so, like, left field or what they would do? I don't know why it got such a furore about it. Like, it was just not needed, or, you know.
I mean, I don't. To be honest, I don't go on Twitter anymore, so I don't know what. That's news to me that there was a big backlash about it. But
he was JP,
like,
wasn't he?
But it's odd. It's an odd mix. The idea of having Jericho with Moxley and
from the history and stuff. Yeah,
it's just a strange mix. But
I think of all the groups, they were a joke group, and they were being put with bloody John Moxley. It's ridiculous.
But the serious, it's Rabbit's right, isn't it? So it shouldn't be happening really. But was the match all right though, Gareth? Like I've seen it there, like 18 minutes worth, just a typical 12-man.
It was just it was a match that nothing in it, nothing happened of any real note. There was a good brawl between Mox and Cope on the
Revolution main event, isn't it, Gareth, for your world title?
Good brawl by them on the aisle. But I was just enjoying enjoying the fact that Hobbs got the moment, like, because that was probably, I don't know, unexpected. You'd have probably gone, you'd have assumed it would have been a Mox Cope.
But this is it, Gareth, though. That's all good, and I'm not just shitting on no parades, and Ben would say, yeah, you know, but I'm not. It's like, but ultimately, what are we building to at the pay-per-view? It's going to be Dean Ambrose in my versus Edge, you know what I mean? It's not going to be Powerhouse Hobbs, it's not going to be Daniel Garcia. I've said this since the start, and I know you've got to start your company with it, like a Chris Jericho was the face at the time, everyone knew, but we're 6 years, and we've only had MJF, haven't we, really, who's been the world champion. That's kind of homegrown, is that right? We've had Moxley, Danielson, Jericho. Who else have we had as champion? Do you know what I mean? Others I'm forgetting probably, but
Samoa Joe, MJF.
Samoa Joe, so there you go. So it's like, at 6 years in now, like, we should have had this by now. Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy's, they get shots, but they're never the guys. So he's going to rely on that. Swerve. Probably, he's ex-NXT. He's probably another one you can throw with MJF, to be fair. But overall, you've lent on that, and you're always going to that. Like Edge I keep saying Edge, I cannot call him Adam Copeland. It's just in me brain.
You're saying Dean Ambrose a second ago.
I know.
Shocking,
I was taking the mick with that one, but it's Cope versus Mox. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. That's just where I look at it. I'm not saying it won't be terrible or whatever. I don't know, but it's not. Do you get what I'm trying to say? It's not what it should be. We should have the having Garcias and stuff at this point for me. But
yeah, it's a fair shout. Like, it's a fair shout. But then the other thing is when you've got these people and you've got a limited time to get stuff out of them.
Hangman to be the champani as well. There's no
use them while you can as well, sort of thing. And then if it's not if it's not a title change, you're like, well, you're investing money in these people who've got a bit of name value. You want to fucking, you want to milk something out of them, don't you?
Of course.
When you got them too. But yeah, in an ideal world in 2025, I didn't see John Moxley versus Edge has been
with Christian with the carrot of the briefcase hanging over. There you go. It's you would have said that 5 years ago. Someone would have you'd say you were crazy. You know what I mean? You're crazy.
As Christian might be entering into a feud with Samoa Joe. I mean, this is like, it's kind of insane. It does.
I like to think they've got the bubbling under there of like. There's plenty there that they still haven't pulled the trigger.
Oh, yeah, Ospreay, Takeshita and Fletcher and all that. That's a great division. That's a great scene.
There's more juice really in Hangman. There's more juice in Swerve and things.
Swerve.
So you almost feel I almost feel like there's this layer here, sort of above that just, that's a lot. Jay White. I feel like a lot of that.
Jay White, another one.
I feel like that a lot of that has come through more in the last couple of months, and there's been almost that prioritization to try and make these people feel like stars, because ultimately that's what they've got to do. Like, you're right there, mate. It's got to be their own stars. It's got to be their own guys who are in these positions that's going to help the company grow. And I feel like they've done more effort to move things that way than they have done in a long time. Definitely, like properly, not just a match kind of thing. Actually, a bit of weight behind behind what they're doing over a number of weeks.
But JP, speaking of stars that won't get opportunities going forward by the sounds, by reports.
Yeah, it's a kind of a bit of a crazy week. I mean, we've got conflicting reports on Britt Baker. I mean, the first report that had come out is that she was gone from AEW TV because Tony Khan had become so frustrated with her. That was according to Wade Keller and PW Torch, that she was becoming difficult to work with. And there was like another minor incident, and that she's not popular in the locker room, and they don't want to work with her at all. And that people have just simply said that they've had enough. And to be honest, having been there at Wembley Stadium for a match versus Mercedes Moné, I think I'm fine with that, but it also makes you feel like they might well have got all the juice they ever were going to go out of her. And she seems completely uninspired and needs a different environment there as well. But I know Brian Alvarez was saying that the rumours are completely blown out of proportion. According to him, he'd spoken to several people in AEW who said actually that that there isn't a case that there isn't. She's not finished with the company, but there isn't any imminent plans, which is going to lead to the bigger issue. We've got the Ray Phoenix with the sort of deleted social media post with him sort of trapped in a straitjacket there as well, dubbing the situation. What was it? The fans called it Guantanamo Bay because of Tony Khan keeping them in kind of stasis, which then leads to a very, I don't know how we're going to do this quickly, but it'd be good to do. There's a whole list of talents who haven't been used for 45 days. This is 32% of the roster, by the way. And this is 46 wrestlers. So it's 143 they've got in total. 4 hours of telly they've got, if I can just remind you of that. 4 hours of telly. And I have 143. Sorry, 5 if you include Ring of Honor. And this includes AEW and Ring of Honor. But 46 haven't been used. And I just wanted to say, I just wanted to sort of mention a name. Last time that they've wrestled, also how many days since their last match, whether or not do you just like keep or go? Like, which of these? And just a simple one-word answer, instinctively, what do you think on this? He says as his stream is kind of freezing and buffering, so it looks like I'm in sort of like mid-mode for this. Number 1, Ty Mello, 660 days. Keep or go?
Keep.
Yeah,
she's got a baby, hasn't she?
She was pregnant, to be fair, so there's one I'll let off.
Well, maybe they'll get away with sacking someone who's actually pregnant. They've moved past that point now. She's had the baby and the maternity leave. So you're both saying keep on that one. Michael Nakazawa, 646 days.
Rid.
Only one fucking answer here, lads. Yeah, exactly. As he should have been, really, should never have been hired, but there you go. Kota Ibushi, 429 days. 7 matches elsewhere.
Can you imagine saying that a few years ago? In the bin.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad you've said that, lads. Keith Lee, 391 days. I just forget he works there or has ever worked there.
I like Keith Lee, but get rid of him.
I love Keith Lee, but no value in the company at all anymore.
This lad, well, the answer's obvious for this one. Miro, 384 days.
But I mean, you would keep him though, wouldn't you? Like, you'd use him, but obviously he's got to leave AEW. He's going to, but I'd use him if I was in charge, of course.
How many days is it since he's been on telly?
384.
I just swore it was 500. You know what I mean? Like, it feels forever. God, yeah.
I mean, on the Nakazawa point, mentioned his office, I'd be like, I wouldn't care. Still gone. Like, it still goes regardless. Ortiz, 363 days.
I mean, would you?
I love Ortiz.
No, I like him, but what is he as a sing? I know Santana's doing wonders for me. TNA, maybe give him a run as a singles. So yeah, keep him. Yeah, keep him.
Is a guy for me who you can have on telly who'll lose matches, just throw him out. Second match on the card, have a wild 10-minute match or something like that and lose, and like, so what? Everyone can't win all the time, can they?
Can I just say, for me, I wouldn't have kept any of these first 6 people, but Ruby Soho, 345 days. That one you get done for, like, when you're sacking someone who's on maternity leave.
Fair play. I didn't know she was pregnant. I'd keep her then. Sorry, did not know she was pregnant.
I think she's only just recently had the baby.
But if she wasn't pregnant,
if she wasn't gone, yeah, exactly.
Keep her and not renew her contract when it comes to an end.
That's it, Gareth.
Classic Tony Console. Danhausen, 338 days.
Should never been in wrestling.
No.
Simple as that. Never been in the business.
GCW, that's his level. That's where I'd be. Blade, our Butcher and the Blade, 317 days.
Solid worker for me, the Blade. Keep him on the roster. Like, love him. I think he's a good worker, me. From an old school worker, you need a lot of them on the roster. I love them.
He's all right.
Yeah,
Pepper Parks.
I'd keep them as because I'd want. I mean, undercard tag again. Who can you can work.
Get him on Ring of Honor. Get him in Ring of Honor work and stuff.
I'd fucking put the belts on Butcher and the Blade at the minute. How little I feel about Private Party. Ricky Starks, 293 days.
I'd keep him. I don't mind him, but obviously he's not going to get used. But I'd keep him.
Send him to the Fed.
Yeah, where he belongs.
Yeah. He's off either way, I think. Wardlow just had an action figure made from 279 days.
Die on this hill, and I know people don't like his wrestling. You could have strapped him up. You could have put the belt on him at that time. I don't care what anybody says. You could have, and we'd be in a different world where people would accept it. I'm not having this like sudden. People change their minds too quickly in the discourse. I love everybody, I really do, but that's a bit of a thing. He was genuinely so organically over. You could have put the belt on him. For me and you both agree on that.
You know,
it was genuine. Like
total myth. Like you just.
And look at him.
You just go, and now like
he can work. He can work as well.
I'm trying to think if I kept him on the card, what would I do with him? I'd maybe like stick him in a tag team with another big bloke as kind of like again just a mid-card.
You could do with him now. He's been ruined. He has. Yeah.
What do you do? Put him back with MJF? Is
that's the only thing you could do.
And that's going back to that storyline.
You could do the Big Show Nikolai Volkov stories of in Wardlow's absolutely skint, and that's why he's not on telly. And he's got to go back to MJF because he's paying him like pittance to be his bodyguard again.
Where is he though? Is he injured?
I'll keep him and do that storyline.
Is he actually injured?
I suspect for a lot of these are kind of like injured as well. He's got lost on a late night run back from the petrol station. Those skins aren't going to buy themselves. Kiera Hogan, 265 days.
I like Kiera Hogan for
I do. I was going to say I'd keep Kiera Hogan.
Okay. Matt Sydal, 240 days. Gone. Yeah,
get rid.
Trent Beretta, 219.
I mean, gone.
It's never happening. Never happening. Riho, 195 days.
I'd miss Sue turning up in a van though.
I did like that.
Maybe that ship has sailed on that one, but Rio 195 days for theme music alone. Gone.
I'd keep her for theme music, just sitting there, satisfied knowing how annoyed you are at home watching it. It gives me a chuckle every time.
I liked Rio. I'd keep her.
She's had moments, just so inconsistently there, isn't she? Ray Phoenix we've already spoken about, and he's gone anyway. And I'd want to see him with Penta, if I'm honest. I'd want to see what would happen there. Sky Blue, 181.
Is that how long since she's been on telly? I feel like I
think she's been injured.
Yeah, right. I'd keep
her. They were using her well, or like pushing her with
fresh face.
Yeah.
Angelo Parker, he's on paternity leave, and 159 days.
Yeah, you got to keep him then.
He's back next week, isn't he? He's
back as the daddy, the back together, the band daddy.
Okay, so that's coming to an end. Kill Switch, 145 days. I know he's not been well at all.
Yeah. Keep him anyway. Yeah, if he was fit, I'd keep him. I think I like him.
Anthony Ogogo, 139.
He was on telly 139 days.
Was that all in? Was he at all in?
He was part of Shane Taylor Promotions.
Okay.
Gone.
Yeah. Not happening. The Guns. I'll keep.
100%.
Where are they?
They're injured.
They're injured. Both of them?
Both of them. Yeah, I know. That's impressive.
Okay, but I keep them. Definitely got to keep them, of course.
Good act.
Yeah.
Samoa Joe was on the list, but obviously he's back in and I wouldn't get rid anyway. Yuka Sakazaki. I know you lads saw from Tokyo Joshi Pro.
Yeah, Yeah.
Get rid. Don't need her at all. Soraya.
Oh, God. I get a kick out of, I don't know what it is. One of the worst wrestlers, but I don't know. I'm torn. I'm torn on that one.
God.
Doesn't add any value if you're thinking about easy ways of saving some money that can be.
She'd be on a few bob as well, JP, wouldn't she?
She'll be on a good whack. She'll be on a good whack.
Yeah, hiring some people who can actively, I don't know, contribute something backstage in terms of the structure of the company. Yeah, get rid. Scorpio Sky, 101 days.
Gotta go.
Gone. He's got TNA written all over him. That lad. Hologram. 97 days, unbelievably. What's it matter? Commander's replaced him.
He's injured, isn't he? Hologram. It's such a shit. I mean, I hate the act. I hate the mask. I hate everything. Like, just get rid. Like, for me, get rid. Like
Lucha Glacier, mate. It's bollocks. We've got Bryan Danielson here. Never getting rid at any stage. That's never going to happen. And I'm assuming we'd all feel the same. This one's an easy one. Brandon Cutler.
Oh, JP. I mean, Gone.
Yeah. I just remember Benno when he got first started playing the new TEW. First thing he did, sack Brandon Cutler. Bucks were angry, and it was just like, it was worth it. Absolutely worth it. Mercedes Martinez, 92 days.
I mean, once again, never minded an inoffensive wrestler, but no point.
I ran around for ROH, but not for AEW.
Yeah. I just think that ship has sailed. I just think you've got as much out of it as you're going to get, and contracts come to an end for a reason. It's like Jorginho at Arsenal. You have him there for a couple of years at best, then you fucking get rid, and you try and flog him off to Fluminense, who in this case is MLW. So that's a weird analogy for you. An obvious one, Peter Avalon, 83 days.
He was on telly 83 days ago. Where? Is he still going?
Blanked it from my mind.
Got to be Ring of Honor, Gareth.
No, I remember him on AEW TV and been like, "What? I can't believe he's
what
on."
Gimmick is he now?
It was doing like a Ravish and Rick Rude gimmick, but like it was a squash match. Like it was. I can't remember who it was against.
Who did he beat?
Yeah.
God, I got me there.
That's a good one. Camille, 79 days.
I think Camille, I'm a big fan. I think she should get it to WWE for me. Just get it there. I think she's great.
Too soon into this run, but they've just made a couple of disastrous decisions with her as well. And I don't know if she can be rehabbed in AEW. I don't know if that's the best place for her.
Granted, I'm only going off it, and this probably been years ago when she was the NWA Women's Champion. She was really good. She really we got great JP, and then when she come to AEW, I was thinking sound, and then he put her as a bodyguard. He just didn't fancy her, did he?
It's ridiculous. Bandido's on here, but obviously he did appear Ring of Honor and then injured, but he's not had a match. He got concussed on that first.
Was he doing anything when he was on contract, JP? Another one.
He was injured. He was out for 2 years. I forgot
he existed. I loved him. He's fucking brilliant.
There's a couple of other people you'll have forgotten existed here as well. Abaddon, 71 days. Spooky shit wrestling gone immediately.
Just give it a one-shot deal for the Halloween show. That's all you need to do, isn't it? She'll give it $100 in the hand to turn up for telly on the Halloween show, and she'll fucking do it.
She should be doing Clockwork Orange House of Fun matches with the Rosemary. There you go. Her new tag team partner, Diamante, 71 days.
Once again,
71. That surprises me.
Yeah.
I'd get rid. I just don't think there's any space. I think we're getting to that point where it's just not enough room. But that's personally an easy one here. Angelico.
Keep us that JP.
Never.
No.
Not even on the British fucking Indies wouldn't have kept that bloke. Drillistico.
Get rid of him and torture him or something like that. Just Angelico. Don't allow him to come back to the UK Indies or something. Just a man I never want to see wrestle again.
No.
In my life, ever. So yeah, he's like bottom of my list. He's like I'd rather have Peter Avalon on my roster than Angelico.
Yeah. Just the dance pisses me off. Drillistico.
No, purposeless again.
Gone. Roosh. Keep.
You'd keep him JP for the.
He's a fucking maniac, and I love it.
Yeah, I'd
He's
keep
batshit. Yeah.
I'd keep him.
Harry Kane, aka Preston Vance.
Gone. He's got to go, hasn't he?
This isn't so many players. No point in keeping the bloke around. This is an obvious one. Eddie Kingston.
I mean, he's got to come back, and for me, especially when you were building Darby Allin, he's got to be the one to beat Moxley and stand up to him. It makes so much sense. He's got to be the guy.
He goes straight into main event.
Straight right in. And that's one, once that ticks every box, like we were saying before, all right, he's not young, but it's a fresh world champion. It's a great moment. It's a great story, personally and in the show. Kayfabe-wise, it makes total sense. He should be the champion.
Absolutely.
One day. It's Mick Foley winning the belt. That's,
he is the person that the Death Riders angle needed more than anyone else, and they never had in there as well. We're nearly at the end of this list, lads. Hikaru Shida.
Keep.
Keep. Yeah. You can always go back to it. Nyla Rose. I'd say keep. I think she serves a purpose.
Yeah, solid.
Yeah. Malachi Black. Gone, but he's gone anyway.
I just love the kerfuffle he causes. I love it. I live for it. It's just great.
He gets a fucking reaction. Oh God, Benno was here. And finally, Juice Robinson. Keep.
Yeah. With the guns, what an act. And Jay White, they were great.
Keep it. The one stable I was all right with, I think, in all of this stuff. So that's a mammoth fucking list that I've gone through there as well. I think that takes us to the end of the AEW talk.
Well, JP, you've got to carry us through the the last
first thing
here.
Before I do anything else, I have to go into plugs, lads. Yeah, because I haven't done this yet. Yeah. Do need to make mention of this. I've got the schedule up on screen, and what a packed January it is as well. Like, have to mention about this. We've got still some great stuff coming out this month. Obviously, we've got the Steen Generico King of the Mountain mixtape from Simon Mulvaney. We've got the Royal Rumble 2001. We've got Sarah Parkin appearing on there with that. So that's going to be great on there.
The greatest Royal Rumble, JP, not 92. This is the greatest.
The IWC.
We're going to find this out.
We'll find out.
Yeah. Oh, look at the pressures on.
Our most hated top 5, which we have decided is non-wrestling personalities in wrestling. There may have been a wrestler in the past, but we're talking about their non-wrestling role.
Managers, commentators, interviewers, anyone. Anybody.
I only ever use valet in the realms of wrestling. I never use that word in any other time in my life. And then obviously the other stuff that we've had on this month, we did the Tokyo Joshi Pro. You did the Tokyo Joshi Pro show, so I didn't have to. With Ewan Cameron as well for his King of the Mountain pick. Got Bretro out, which is the what is the one we've got this month for that? It's what's the?
We don't reveal.
No, don't reveal it. Of course you don't. What the hell am I doing there?
Even better happy by not revealing it.
And obviously in February, we've got Dealer's Choice month starting in there as well. So just a couple of changes that we've had that you can see up on the Patreon site. It's up there on the free feed. I won't bore everyone with all of the details for that on there as well. We've got the idea of the pre-show is going to be recorded before we do the Patreon shows that we do there as well. In there is going to be a price change. Obviously, if you're on the existing tiers and you're still subscribing, absolutely fine. But it will be going up for £1 for both the bonus shows and the live tiers. King of the Mountain price stays exactly the same. So if you're on that tier now, I'd get on it and stay on it. And that way, then you avoid the price rise there. It's all still a great price. You can't get a point in most places for what you get for all the classic audio content we do there as well. So yeah,
Matty putting his rates up there, more expensive. Got to put the prices up.
It is. What?
I love the way it always comes to me when it comes to the moolah. Doesn't it? The coin, the cheddar. It always comes to me, doesn't it?
And
we'll get out of bed for that extra quid.
Oh no. And why should he at all? And then we get on to I think this is the point in the evening where I'm going to bring you home. I'm not going to, weirdly, this is going to be the complete polar opposite of what the show actually was. and this is going to be a very brief review of what I managed to see of the People versus GCW. Fucking hell. Like, I'm genuinely cross that there was a show that in total, including the pre-show, was 6 hours long. I mentioned this on the pre-show tonight. Our pre-show, which wasn't 6 hours long, that 2 of my children were born in a combined time of when Vicky went into labor quicker than what this show was. And on fucking principle, I decided I'm not going to watch the rest of the show. There's washing up that needs doing because the kids were baking. And I thought, well, that shit needs to be done. And it's done and out of the way. And I don't need to worry about it in the morning because I was cross at how long this show was. I mean, Benno had watched it originally. I've got some of his thoughts on there. I have to say, I completely echo those thoughts. It's just fucking rubbish. It's just rubbish. GCW is fucking rubbish. It's terrible. Full of bad wrestling. It's just it's effectively just indie lads doing some indie shit. Every match felt like it had either too many people, it had too much stuff just going on, too many run-ins. It had 16 matches on this card. 16. 1-6. More than what 2 pay-per-views would have done. WWE would have to do over 3 pay-per-views to beat this. That's how fucking bad it is.
JP,
it's that bad that my screen is frozen. That's how fucking bad it was, lads.
I don't think WWE, when they were doing them 6-hour WrestleManias, had 16 matches on. At that point, I don't think they did. They got close, but not that much. Jesus.
It was fucking insane. And again, I think my frozen picture, hopefully it's not affecting the audio itself, but my frozen picture has, like, honestly, it just tells you, like, I was watching this and I was just getting cross. And I've heard some minor praise. It's not the worst show of all time. It is the worst 6-hour show, possibly, of all time, because no show should be 6 hours. No show should be a quarter of a fucking day long. No show. There's no concert you go to and you think, I know, Gareth, you go to plenty of concerts and you think, this is good. I wish they had 3 times the amount of content that is here because I'd like to stay here until the small hours of the morning. It was fucking insane with long breaks. And I'm not talking about the alley catch thing, which was, I mean, it was strange in the sense that, you know, it was a horrible injury, a freak injury, very much like Dante Martin's. You know, she's had the operation, she's had the GoFundMe in place, and she's kind of sorted things out. But
and he's gone. He was that outraged that his computer has crashed.
I tell you what, though, like I've got like the match list up in front of me, Matty, and like obviously didn't watch a second of this. Like looking at how many matches that like there are on the card, and like I just can't like you're 10 matches deep and then Joey Janela's coming out. I don't know what that would do to my brain. Like if I was fucking
was it like a 4-step epic with Tanaka? Was it how long did it go, Gareth? Did it say?
It's just like 12 minutes here.
Not too bad then.
But it's
still
like when you've watched all that before it, when you like seeing the names that are included there, and then if you're going off like, you know, if you're going off cage match ratings here and you're looking and seeing some of these matches here with like a 4-star, a 4.15, a 5.46, like this, the idea of that match. I hope JP's watched this because I want his opinion on it. Is, you know, everybody knows my love or hate of blood sport, but fucking Josh Barnett against fucking Baron Corbin, like in a 10-minute blood sport match. Like, oh, I can't even imagine what that would be. I can't even visualize how bad that would be. Like in my mind, it's just never going to see the light of day. This with me. Is that as you look at the card, Matt, is there even anything there that like perks your interest?
Gareth, no, and just think of how like last year, was it last year or the year before, the pay-per-view before, like the one and only one they've had? Do you think of how down we were on that? And this is meant to be way, 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 way worse than that one. And that was the worst thing, honestly, one of the worst things I've ever seen in my history of being a wrestling fan. So can you only imagine? No, seriously, Gareth, I remember it was embarrassing. Like, and you've got to give them credit in a way of that they built themselves up to get these opportunities and stuff. So you've got to give them some sort of praise, even though we don't like them or not. But then when they do, it seems like they shit the bed every time. Like, Gareth, but I'm looking through this card now, mate, and there's at least last time it was intriguing. They had Jeff on there. They had who else was on there? Like, who come in and beat Ali Catch? Who was it? And that was my old point last time. I can't remember. It wasn't Soho, was it? I think it might have been Ruby Soho, someone like that. And like, it was to the point where, you know, your homegrown wrestlers are just getting jobbed out by these people who come in. Should we do the way around in a way? Like, and that was me not even, that's just like a logical thing for me anyway. You just letting people come in, paying us to beat your wrestlers. It just doesn't make sense. But this one, there's not a mate on this that literally, like Megan Bain, I'm a fan, but Atticus Cougar, not familiar with. Matt Cardona, like, is that what the gimmick was? Beats like two jobbers with Microman in there, and then I'm guessing Broski Jimmy turns on him and beats him in the end. Like, who's wanting that lore, that story? Like, Effie winning your world title in a 20-minute match against old Manta, Gareth, is your main event. I mean, like, you're longing for Kofi Kingston and Rey Mysterio now, aren't you, mate?
Too right. And do you know what? Do you know what stands out with the as well is like, obviously when they're having these big shows like that, then like it is getting more eyes on the product, isn't it? Because people are seeing it as been like, oh, this is a major show. I might actually watch this. I don't normally watch the product, so I'll watch this. And I don't reckon it's like, it's probably just as shit as it always is, kind of, but it's just that there's more people seeing how shit it actually is than it been them shit in the bed on the big stage. Because it is shit. It's shit every time I watch it. Like, and the thing that it was built on, the charm of bringing in like a Marty Jannetty, or you know, when they had my memory tonight. The wrestler with one leg. I forgot it for
Oh yeah.
Oh no, when they had no legs. They had no legs.
Yeah, no legs. Yeah, that's what his name was. No legs.
Fucking killed for him to be on this show.
Yeah,
Tony Devlin, just wild left field, pulling someone out from history or something like that. There was always someone that had a bit of charm or intrigue about it or something like that. Whereas it just feels totally just charmless and stale to me now.
Well, what, JP? Can we talk about PCO? What happened there? Like, what's the gist? I don't get it.
So, oh god,
is it a shoot or a work?
That I'm not going to go into because it's a waste of time. So yeah, apparently it was a shoot. So it was. He won a battle royal that was on the pre-show. He looked terrible. The years are caught up. He just looks fucked. And it's like, well, no surprise, mate. You're in your mid-50s and you're doing fucking cannonball planches onto the edge of a ring.
60, you know, Annie.
Yeah, it's daft shit. And then he said, I've been working for a company called TNA Wrestling. I've drawn them the biggest houses. I sell the most T-shirts. Call him bullshit on that immediately. And then he pulled out a belt. It's like I have to move out of the way. If you can see
digital media belt, isn't it?
And the digital media / international. I think it's like an international title he has as well with it. I don't know what the fuck it means. It was a replica, apparently. Got it. He said, hand me my tools. Puts it on a chair. Then grabs it, has this big sledgehammer in his hand, puts it on the chair for some reason, then hits it, and then it falls off. And then he does it again, and it falls off. And he does it again, and it falls off. And MLJ, the ring announcer, just gets to the point where he's just trying to forcibly grab this thing off him as he's doing it. Because in many ways, part of the problem here is it could be damaging what you consider intellectual property from another company on there. It's not really want to do. Apparently, they're seething about this. I wouldn't be seething about him going. I'd be delighted. And this is all because his contract's up. Let's not forget, this cunt had a run as the world champion at his age. He had, he was there for what, 3 years at a time when he had no right to be there. He was well gone in Ring of Honor. When he turned up in TNA, I was like, oh my fucking days. And now he's turned up here and he was doing this, and it was bad. Just bad shit. And it just cut. They just cut off. Because it was like MLJ was trying to get this segment moved on. They didn't want this to happen, but they did for a battle royal that didn't need to happen. That had the new backseat boys that were in there. Too Tough Tony from Juggalo Championship Wrestling. He was there as well. It was like some WWID people were there. Ricky Morton was in it. It was bad. Like, and that was on the pre-show. And then you got onto them, and so it just made no fucking sense whatsoever.
How far did you get through it?
I got up to I saw the Matt Cardona bits, but I'd seen it beforehand, where they didn't have an appointment for him. So first, an opponent for him. So first of all came out Tommy Invincible. No idea who he was. He was a wrestler on TikTok, and he beat him. And then he beat Micro Man. And then Jimmy Lloyd, who's Broski Jimmy, ended up beating him. It was just the whole thing was waste of fucking time. And a lot of these matches went 10, 12 minutes for no real reason. Like Bazza Corbin, he was kind of over, lost to Josh Barnett, which the crowd weren't happy about. Megan Bain beat Atticus Kogar, and it's like, right, well, she's leaving, but whatever. Like, they were just having that one on there. They have a character on it called Charles Mason. Now, this is a storyline and a half. His character he's a serial killer. So his opening video package, he's got, I want it, all these famous serial killers. It's like John Wayne Gacy appears, Ted Bundy appears, Louis Mangione, who shot the healthcare CEO, comes out. It's one of the biggest pops of the night, that little bit of video showing, which just tells you where people's their head state is in the States. He's a serial killer who kills poor people. Richard Holiday turned heel by telling the police about this.
So he's a face?
Yeah, and apparently you don't want to be a grass. It's worse to be a grass than it is a murderer of poor people. And they had a steel cage match, which was bad. And Richard Holiday had Paro in his corner. Like they had, and it might, well, I mean, they had a 6-man tag. It was super crazy. He did a dive off the balcony, which in his size, I had no business doing. Sidney Akeem, I don't know who he was when he was sommelier in WWE. He defeated El Hijo de Vikingo, who just doesn't look right at all. Doesn't look right at all. It's like shouldn't have been on there on the card at all. Yeah, they had. I didn't see the main event because Effie and Mance Warner, and I went, I don't need to see this. Don't need to watch this at all. I know who wins it. Effie wins it. Absolute death knell for me. You know, scripts in NXT.
Oh, Reggie. Is it Reggie? Yeah.
Reggie. And he just does lots of flips. That's what he does. That's his whole thing. Violence is Forever. Lost the tag belts to the Garbage Daddies. It just looked like a bog standard indie match in front of an unusually large crowd. Matt Tremont unified the Extreme and Ultra Violent titles. 2 titles that, should have just been one in the first place. Just too much going on. And I almost want to read verbatim. This is what Benno had written about it. This is his quote from the Discord. I've completely come round on GCW having anything for me at this point. It's just an objectively terrible wrestling company with lots of terrible wrestling. And I'm not sure what I was thinking the fleeting times I've liked it. I guess I'd agree with the highlights overall, but overall it was a self-indulgent mess of a show. Everything is too much. Too many matches, too many run-ins, too much time spent between the matches, no urgency to fucking get on with it when things go wrong, whether it's their fault or not. It was like I knew I was getting into watching it in between fever dreams, but Jesus wept. A terrible show. I don't think I can say anything better than that. He's completely nailed it. It's just excessively bad. Really, really just, and it's not even like comedically bad wrestling. It's just watching bang average indie workers who should be wrestling on IWTV in front of 50 people, and that would be fine because that's the level. It's just they drew 1,700 and they'll go back there and they'll run there again, and it's just a mess of a company and a mess of a show. And they did financially well for that weekend, but
do you know what,
my
JP,
God,
do you know what that ties into, mate? The negativity we're going to bring for our Patreon 5-1 this weekend, next weekend. This is what I love, though, JP. We've got our early hats on there, mate.
Yeah, we have indeed, mate. And I'm honestly, like, don't watch any of this. Just look at the runtime. Don't watch any of this. Don't watch a single second. It doesn't deserve it. I think when I put the post up for this originally, I just put a screenshot, which is people like the opening screen, and it's just like 6 hours and 3 minutes long. And what you should say naturally is no. I don't want to watch this. I don't want to see any part of this.
JP, I said before, WrestleMania was like, and that's WrestleMania for me, was too long at 6 hours. I'm glad of the 2 nights in a way. Them long manias. No show should be 6 hours. Not even a WrestleMania.
If you're at a festival, that's the only time anything should be 6 hours long. And that's a multitude of acts on a big, properly big stage. This was just, it was just, to say it was bloated is being offensive to the word bloated, because it was just so much. And I found myself going, I don't care about any of this. I'm not invested in it. The one good thing they have, and it's so minor and so small, is whoever is doing their video packages before matches, they do a good job. They put some really good video packages together. And the opening video packages of all of the various GCW wrestlers going into court. But what summed up this show for me was they were going to start a 6-man, which was Homicide, Amazing Red, and Grim Reapers, NYCOGs, up against 3 other lads, including Kerry Morton and Tony Deppen. And they couldn't start the match because the New York commissioner wasn't there, because they were backstage with Ali Catch from the injury she had before. Just had to cut away because just lads stood around in a ring. And that whole thing and getting her out of there, that was like 40 odd minutes. So you could skip through that. But fuck me, just like shambolic. And the thing about them is they're like Millwall in the regard, it's never their fault, but it always happens on their watch. And they never claim any bloody responsibility for it. Dreadful, dreadful show. Time I will never, ever, ever get back. The one benefit, because of the bacon, there was a lot of washing up, and I managed to plow through it. And I honestly to God, I was like, that was a good decision to make. Made life a lot easier. Never again. There's never Mania weekend. I don't want to review any of their stuff. I'll just be like, if there is a highlight, it will require several people whose opinions I trust to actually plug it for me to sell me on this. Otherwise, I ain't fucking bothering. They are shit. Donkey wrestling.
And if you've done 4 hours 45 on it, mate, I don't think you need to punish yourself by watching another minute of it this year. So,
nope.
Yeah, have the WrestleMania off.
And that's it. I think that nicely takes us to the end of this show, doesn't it?
It does, lads. And I've enjoyed it, lads. You know,
that's been brilliant. All around the wrestling world,
we've
lads.
got all around the wrestling world. Finally got there, and it's. I'm sticking to my New Year's resolution, lads. I'm keeping up with as many promotions as I can this year. We'll check all the big shows out and the weeks in between. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, lads, and doing obviously more shows with yourselves. So long may it continue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good to see you, Gareth.
See you at the weekend for Retro, mate.
Yeah, see you there, mate.
Got that as well. Get yourself to patreon.com/grapple, youtube.com/@grapple as well. And all I have to say is bye.
See ya.
Ta-da.